that would be fucked up. And then sure enough, I finished that puzzle and I was missing one piece. I don't know if he actually took one or not.
Oh, I was going to say, you should have just punched him in the dick without even saying anything. You know, like,
yeah.
Oh, wouldn't it be fucked up if I just punched him in the dick without saying anything?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, maybe you shouldn't take my fucking shit, man.
I gave him a Paddington hard stare.
I just barely avoided laughing beer out my nose.
Yeah, dude. Alright. Should we do this?
Yep, we're going, right? Yeah, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Sweet.
Might leave that in. I don't know.
Hell yeah. Oh, shit. Yeah, so, I, as you know, have started hanging out with my super fucking cool neighbors, Martha and Mary Ellen.
Oh, nice.
And they let me know that they had a story to tell me.
Oh.
From back in my wilder days.
Oh.
And I didn't really have time. I was like going to the bus that day, and like it just kind of got, you know, forgotten. And then one day they were like, hey, you know, like, you're a fucking family, like, come over and hang out. And I'm like, really? Like, hell yeah. And I'm like, fucking all right.
Wait, this was recently? They told you to come hang out?
Yeah, it was like earlier this summer.
Okay.
And so I come over there and like they got a fucking beer waiting for me and like a bowl with a nug wrapped in tinfoil like sitting there on the little table next to the porch. They're so fucking chill. I love them. And yeah, you know, we just get to shooting the shit and like, you know, talking about this, that, and the other. People in the neighborhood, like, you know.
Yeah, because you've been there, like, forever, right?
I mean, like, since 2011.
Oh, God, yeah. So, like, 10 years.
Yeah, I've been there 10 years.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've said hi to them a million times, but, like, and like, you know, I'd stop and chat every now and then. But, like, beyond that, nothing really. And like, you know, this one time they're like, we've got a fucking story to tell you from your wilder days. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure I know what story you're talking about.
Oh, man.
So yeah, you know, I'm chilling out, we're talking, and they're like, yeah, so, you know, you've lived here for a long time, and you know, we've never really hung out, but like, you know, there was one night a while back where like you were getting pretty wild. I'm like, yeah. Was it the 4th of July?
Oh, man.
Yup. I'm like, oh, boy. And they're like, yeah, what do you remember?
Oh, no.
I'm like, okay, yeah, well, you know what state I was in, clearly. And so, I told them what I remembered, because, I mean, everyone who listens to this podcast...
Right, so go back to episode, I don't know, 30 or... It's somewhere 30, 40 something.
I want to say it's, between 20 and 40 somewhere.
Yeah.
And it's my 4th of July drunk tank episode.
Right.
And, I'm like, well, I remember I was fucking wasted, and, like, there's a lot of memories missing, but I remember being on my porch.
Wait, the short version is you had gone out to see fireworks with friends. So then you ended up at like beer mongers, and getting like schwasty, and then you decided to walk home for some XYZ reason.
That's close enough. I'd been in Beaverton. We were driving back, and my friends were having an argument, and I was just not feeling it. I was already pretty drunk, but like
you're like, I don't want to be around this.
Yeah, basically, and like. We were stopped on 7th and Division, and I remembered that, 7th and Hawthorne. And I remembered that, 12th and Hawthorne. Sure. And I remember that down on 12th and Division is Apex and Beermonger, et cetera, et cetera. Maybe it was 7th. Who cares? Yeah. We were parked relatively close to, or we were stopped at an intersection relatively close to the Beermongers and Apex. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to walk home.
Fuck you guys. Go have your fight elsewhere.
And so I literally got out of the car on the fucking driver's side.
Oh,
fucking walked around, got on the sidewalk, and walked away. And, you know, like, within 5 minutes, people are texting me, like, dude, are you all right? And I'm just like, yeah, you know, and, like, one of the guys who was in the car was just like, hey, man, I get it. Just want to make sure you're okay. I'm like, yeah, everything's cool. Just like,
it's fine. I just can't be here now.
Yeah, just want to fucking, you know, hit the bar on my way home.
Yeah.
And I don't specifically remember whether or not the beer monger was still serving their 14% barley wine at this point. But if memory serves,
it sounds like they were. Yeah.
Regardless,
based on the rest of the evening, it sounds like they were.
Even if they weren't, they were notorious for serving huge pours of very strong beers.
Yeah.
You know, a tradition that continues to this day there, as well as Ultimate IPA. Like,
right.
But yeah, so
Unlimited IPA.
Sorry, Unlimited. God, I'm never gonna get that name right.
Me neither.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, like I had some amount of booze there. I don't remember leaving, and the next thing that I remember is being at my house with my keys in the door and a police officer walking up and saying, hey man, can you help me out with something? And me saying, of course, and following him down to the street.
Oh, right.
And mind you, like, no, whatever. Adding any detail to this doesn't really matter. I went down to the street and was summarily thrown onto the back of a cop car and handcuffed.
Right.
And searched, etc., etc. And so that's what I remember from being around my house. Oh, one other salient detail is that they found like 4 bags of weed in my backpack. Right. And they're like, oh, buddy, you're going to jail.
Because you were slinging eighths at that point.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and I said, oh, I have a card for those.
Oh, right.
And they said, really? And I said, yeah. And they said, well, where is it? And I said, it's in my wallet. And they said, where's your wallet? And I'm like, you have it. And then they found it and decided to just take me to the drunk tank instead of actually arresting me.
Oh, right. And they're like, well, we've already got him in cuffs. I guess we got to do something.
And you know, it didn't make a whole lot of sense to me at the time. It seemed pretty fucking harsh and draconian.
Right.
And so, you know, this is what I tell my neighbors.
Right.
And
right, which is what you told the podcast.
Exactly.
This is the story we got.
This is all that I remember. And so they're like, "Oh, okay. Well, I mean, yeah, those things definitely happened." But we encountered you a little before then.
Oh, no.
Oh, really? Well, what was I doing? And they're like, okay, well, we were driving down our street, and you jumped out of nowhere and got up onto the hood of the pickup.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Dude, update fucking to the previous episode.
Yeah, and I guess the owners of the pickup were their friends from New York, and I like was up on the hood, and they like stopped the truck because, you know, a rando jumped onto their hood, and I fell off, and then I ran around to the like passenger side door and was trying to open the door.
Whoa, what?
And I'm like waving at my neighbors and like,
oh, because you recognized them?
Yeah, and
presumably.
I'm like, yeah, exactly. And I'm like pounding on the door and like,
oh, dude.
The driver of the truck starts to take off, and I'm like running along, like hanging onto the door, like
whoa,
pounding on the window, and their friend who's in the passenger seat, who's a woman from New York, cracks the window and says, "Fuck off!" And she might have said something else. She said something way more New York. I don't remember exactly what she said, but like,
yeah.
Oh no, that's right. She said, "Go fuck yourself."
Yeah.
I ignored her advice, but I wish I had listened to it.
Yeah.
And I, you know, proceeded to like run down the street while hanging onto the door handle, and they eventually like managed to escape my fucking drunken grasp and like pulled around and parked on a side street and like, you know, came back to observe the situation. And apparently I was at this point out on the more major intersection, like I don't want to tell everybody where I live, but
yeah, that's
like,
fine. Yeah.
The street that intersects with mine that's a little busier,
yeah,
hiding in the bushes. And when a car would come by, I'd run out into the street.
Oh my God, dude.
Yeah. And like their friend is like, okay, I'm fucking calling the cops. And they're like, no, like he's actually pretty cool. I don't know what the fuck's wrong with him right now. But I promise you he's harmless. Like, just like, let's see what's going on here. And this is before they see me hiding in the bushes. And then they see me hiding in the bushes and running out, jumping in front of cars. And they're like, dude, fucking knock it off. Yeah. And I'm not fucking listening to anyone, you know? And like, some of these people are like getting out of their cars and being like, what the fuck, man? You know, and then like getting back in and taking off. But like, I'm continuing to do this. And so eventually...
Were you just like, it's insurance scam time or something?
I don't fucking know, man. I don't do this shit. Like,
no, this
this is the imp of the perverse fucking possessing me and fucking, driving me to do weird shit. And so, fucking... eventually, I don't remember if it was Martha or Mary Ellen, but they're just like, you know what, we have to call the cops. Like, he is a danger to himself and others, and we can't do anything about it. What other choice do we have in this situation?
Oh, no.
And it's unfortunate that Portland doesn't, or either still doesn't, or at the time didn't have something like Cahoots or Cheers, but like...
Right.
Like, fucking, that would have been the thing, is call the fucking... the drunk tank guys to come and put me in a van and take me to the drunk tank. But that wasn't an option at that time. So the cops came. And according to my neighbors, the cops took a pretty fucking soft approach with me at first. Apparently, like, the guy who showed up sat me down on my fucking sidewalk and was just like, look, man, like, I'm not going to take you in, but you absolutely have to go into your house right now.
Yeah.
And you can't come back out.
Yeah.
Because if you do, I'm gonna have to arrest you.
Oh no.
And I fucking came back out like a couple of times. And he was cool enough to be like, hey man, like, remember what we talked about? Like,
so you like stumble inside and then just turn right back around and like walk back out?
I'm guessing like, he talked enough sense to like sober me up long enough to get me in my house, and then like the fucking booze took over again, and I'm just like, I want to go outside and have fun. And like, like
4th of July,
I
motherfuckers.
don't fucking know, man. Like, there's some reports of telephone conversations that I was having on my way home that are just wild as hell. But I mean, that's all in the podcast. But like, yeah. So I guess like the last time I came out of my house, I fucking charged down to the street, saw the cop, turned around, charged back up to my house, and that's where my memory kicks in.
Oh.
Is the cop being like, fucking goddamn it, that's it. I don't care if you're like turning around and running back to your house. Like,
oh no.
You're done. And so yeah, that's why I remember like trying to get back into my house and this cop being like, hey man, come help me out with something. And like, in my drunk brain, I'm just like, oh yeah, I can trust this guy, and like, fucking.
You'd already talked to him like a few times.
I didn't have any memory of him at that point,
right?
I was like, honestly, the whole reason in my mind that I trusted him in that moment is that I'd had a cop come to my door like a couple weeks before and be like, hey man, I think there's a motorcycle in your shed, and I was like, well, let's go look. Right. And I opened the door and there was no motorcycle, and he was like, I'm sorry, thank you for your time. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, I can trust cops. That guy was cool, right?
Right. It's just a normal routine
stuff. Yeah, like, this guy just needs my help. I'll go down to the street and help him.
Whoa.
Yeah, because that's how fucking drunk I was in that moment. It's just like, yeah, I'll help this fucking cop. But like,
man.
Jesus, dude.
And that's such a thing, dude, like, that some people have, like, the getting utterly wasted, but then just still functioning, just still
dude.
Up and walking and talking and doing your thing. Like, if I get that drunk, I'm hugging a toilet, like, or I'm in a fucking bathtub or something, man. Like, I don't make it to that,
I wish I didn't.
Yeah, no shit.
But also, like, other people can get drunker than me without blacking out. Like, that's why I'm saying it's genetic,
right,
Like,
right.
It's just, Some people fucking black out after a certain amount of booze, and like
different for everyone, man. God. You must have just thought you were just like playing a game with cars or something. Just being like,
fuck if I know, dude. Like, I don't do that shit. Who knows?
Yeah, that's wild.
I mean, fuck's sake. Most of the time, if I'm walking down the street, I'm trying to fucking blend in with the scenery, you know? Because, like, the town that I grew up in, like, if you're walking down a fucking street that doesn't have a sidewalk, which there are many, you know, fucking rednecks would try to run over you with their fucking pickups.
I want to throw this out there for a second. Do you think that there's any chance that someone drugged a drink at where you're at? Because GHB will fucking do weird things to weird people, man.
Dude, I had never considered that.
I mean, you know, like, because that is pretty out of character for you, even hella drunk.
Here's the thing, like, I've blacked out around you guys, and like, you know, most of the time I'm just like, I fucking love you, dude. You know,
I mean, that's kind of your move when you get like pretty drunk. You know, you'll goof around, but you'll usually even sort of zonk out or be like, I gotta get home or whatever.
It's usually pretty sappy, and then I pass out. You know, it's not like, woo.
I'm trying to fuck with cars. I'm trying to like.
God, I never even thought about that. But yeah, I was by myself, and I was fucking wasted. So like,
and on 4th of July. And so, like, and people are just doing weird things on holidays, man. It just brings out everyone, so who even knows, man?
Dude, I would not discount that. I'm surprised I've never thought of that, honestly.
Yeah, well, it just occurred to me, because it's like, man, that's some behavior that is super out of character for you. And also, like, you know, it's more, that feels like more than just alcohol. That feels like you're very drunk, obviously, but, like, something else is causing you to, like, do really weird shit.
Well, and also I was hungover the next day, but like not like hungover. Like you know, like I've had DTs, and I didn't feel as weird as I did the next day after the fucking drunk tank.
Yeah,
like, shit. I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm fucking, you know, just conflating a really bad hangover with like fucking drug withdrawals, but
who knows?
I wouldn't say it's impossible.
Wild. Well, there you go, folks. Update to a previous episode.
An addendum.
Oh man. And so they, after all this time, they're like, hey, we should fill this in for you.
Right, and I'm just apologizing left and right, because I'm imagining being in this truck. And then, like, back then, I had my long hair and a really fucking long beard. You know, I looked like a fucking heavy metal wild man, you know? Like,
big old Hessian fucking...
Yeah! You know, and I'm just, like, beating on the windows, like, hey! You know, like, oh my God. I would fucking definitely be tempted to fucking at least flee the scene, if not fucking, you know.
And then definitely call the police.
Jesus Christ, dude.
Oh, no. So your fucking neighbors are but I mean, whatever. It was probably better for everything and everyone involved, because, like...
Well, no, and like...
Who knows? You could have definitely gotten yourself really hurt or something.
They apologized for calling the police, and I'm like, no, honestly, first of all, I'm so glad that it was you. Also, I'm really sorry that it was you, because fuck.
Yeah.
But sorry also, like, you know, thank you for making sure that I was safe, because, like, honestly, if some fucking wacko tweaker in a fucking big truck had fucking, you know, I jumped out in front of them, like,
who knows?
I could have caught a bullet that night.
Who knows? Like, or just got straight run over or something. Yeah.
No shit.
No, this is why, like, I really do speculate that, like, you ended up with some other chemical in your system through some fucking means that maybe wasn't your own, so...
I mean, you know, I don't want to fucking try to blame bad behavior on fucking chemistry, but like, Jesus, dude, like, you're right. It is really out of character for me.
Super out of sorts for you. I mean, you know, you've told a number of these stories on the pod of like your darkest drinking times,
right?
You know, and this was one of them. This is like one of 2 or 3, you know,
sure.
And so like it's definitely super out of sorts for you.
Well, and like in all the other ones, it's like I'm just partying too much and fucking end up in the hospital or something, you know? Like, but it's not like I fucking went wild and caused a ruckus. You know? Like,
totally right. Yeah.
But yeah, so, you know, I was like, I'm really fucking sorry. And they're like, you know what? It's cool, man. Like, we kind of took a shine to you because of that. And like, man. Now we just kind of try to watch out for you. And I'm like,
oh, man.
Oh, my fucking God. I love you so much.
You're like, well, lucky for you, I've fucking mellowed out over the last 10 years. And like,
exactly.
Things are different.
Right.
Now I just do a podcast where I talk about these stories instead of creating new ones.
Right. Allegedly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So huge shout out to my neighbors, Martha and Mary Ellen. Fucking love you guys.
Oh, yeah. Dude, yeah. Shout out for some update content, too.
Right.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Good shit.
Well, shit. Welcome to Coming Down. My name is Nathan. I am here with Matthew.
Hey, everybody.
We didn't do it at the top, but that's all right.
I kind of intentionally made not do that, but whatever.
Yeah, man. So, so we're gonna do an episode that's a long time coming. I've been meaning to talk about my dad for a while, and the reason I'm gonna do it now is it's been kind of a somber week for me. It's kind of a somber moment for me right now, and so this one won't. There will be some laughs in here, folks. There's some good stuff in here. And speaking of referencing old podcasts, if you listen to, well, shit, I don't remember. You'll have to find it. But I did an episode with my mom, and so that gives you a little bit of context of the history with my dad from her perspective, which I never really got while I was a young kid.
Right.
So what I'm going to do is give my perspective on what I went through with my dad and ultimately why I don't talk to him anymore. And been meaning to do this one for a while, and I know that it's like a little bit of a weightier topic, but it feels correct to do right now, because I just found out recently that my grandfather is basically dying.
So sorry.
And dude, I mean, it's okay, man. I've sort of come to terms with it because he's dealt with a lot in the last like decade and has sort of lost his mind, and that started years ago, and so he really hasn't been the same person for a long time. So I've sort of spent many years like making peace with that, and so like I'm sort of at an okay place with that, and knew this was coming basically any day, but that day has finally come.
Yeah.
And my grandpa, I mean, he also raised me. I mean, he like in many ways he raised me as much as my dad did, and was a huge father figure to me. And so I'm going to go back to Colorado and spend some time with my mom and with him also here coming up soon. So I'll even preface this too with there may be, we actually might miss a week here.
Yeah, it's possible that we might have to take a week off.
Yeah,
bereavement is a fine excuse.
Yeah, totally, and we'll figure it out. And I think after I spend some time out there, I'll come back with some good stories about my grandfather. Because I kind of don't know what to talk about regarding him right now, except that he was huge part of my life, and huge great male role model for me growing up, and was just like super awesome. And look, his time has come, as it comes for all of us, and so it's really not like that big a deal, and so I don't want to like harp on that too much, but it did get me thinking about like, well, I'm already feeling kind of somber, and I'm already kind of feeling like out of sorts, so fuck it, man. Let's talk about the father figure who fucking failed me.
Dude, I'm here for this.
In many ways. And so, I guess, also, before I start it, hit us up. Let's do the fucking housekeeping shit, because, hit us up on Twitter, at comingdownpod, comingdownpod.com. Email us, comingdownpod@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from y'all, and and we are doing the Patreon, so if you go to patreon.com/comingdownpod, you can join for $1 a month, and someday I think we'll get back into some sort of exclusive content, but
we're getting there.
Pandemic threw a wrench into every single bit of everything, so
we're still workshopping that shit.
And so we'll get some exclusive content going again, but then also we'll send you goodies. We got all this merch like stickers and coasters and buttons and shirts and stuff, so you can go on to that website and check it out, and it just helps us pay for the hosting and keep the lights on, as they like to say. Anyway, there's all the housekeeping stuff, so we'll just go right back to the beginning. So my dad my dad was super cool when I was growing up, and if you go back and listen to the episode with my mom, he like when they met, my dad was like this atheist hippie who moved out from California and met my mom, and my mom had just well, she was sort of wrapped up in this Christian cult called the Church of Christ, I think is what they were called.
Fucking right.
And but she met my dad, and I mean, she was young. She wasn't like wrapped up in it necessarily, not like a full Kool-Aid drinking cultist or whatever.
But it was a big part of her life.
But yeah, it was a big part of her life. But she met my dad, and they hit it off, and then the church effectively disowned my mom, kicked her out of the church because she was dating this atheist, right? Or really not a member of the cult.
Sure.
But I mean, he was, he had like long hair, he listened to fucking Pink Floyd and Led Zeppelin.
Hell yeah.
Had like a sick vinyl collection and like, I don't know. And he didn't really know what he was doing and knocked my mom up and then fucking shotgun wedding and then I appear. But they made it work, and my dad has always been a photographer, and so that's kind of what he did when I was born, is he got a job. Well, I think he had a bunch of jobs, but he got a job at one of the local rags, one of the local newspapers. At the time, it was called the Triangle Review. that was the like other little newspaper in Fort Collins.
Jesus.
Yeah, tiny little rag. But
what a fucking garbage name, dude.
Oh yeah, dude. I don't even know what it means, honestly.
I was like, are there 3 towns there? No,
I don't. I really don't know what it means. I have no idea.
What the devil?
But yeah, and so he worked there, and then also was doing a lot of stay-at-home parenting. Like my mom was working too. They were both kind of trading off. Like one person would work, one person would stay at home, and then my grandparents were filling in all the gaps because they did live close to us. Well, and actually, when I was super young, they moved to when I was like 2, I think they moved to Estes Park, and that's where my grandparents lived. And then my grandparents were like kind of, well, not full-time, daytime raising me. Like while they were both working, I was with my grandparents like every day. And so my grandparents like, they did a great job of just being there all the time. And then they actually moved back down to Fort Collins, and then so did my parents. And so then they were still always available and they would take me on weekends and, take me on nights where my parents needed a night or whatever. And they were just always around.
Grandparents are fucking essential for raising kids if you
aren't God, rich. I mean, really. Yeah. And I'm so thankful for that. And, and I know my mom is like so thankful for that because, yeah, dude. My mom was like 20 when she had me. Like, Christ almighty, dude. I can't imagine having a kid at 40, let alone 20.
Well, fuck, I don't know what, like, childcare costs were back then, but, like, a rough figure that I've heard recently for, like, daytime childcare for a week is about $2,000.
Yeah, yeah. And probably, like, reasonably expensive back then, too. Yeah. So it was super cool. But my dad was super cool, man, growing up. Like, he really was kind of the best dad. He was super attentive, was just there, like, fucking... And I loved my dad, and, like, it's like he hung the moon. I just thought he was, like, the coolest fucking guy, and he always would just do anything with me.
Hell yeah.
And got me into, like, music at an early age, got me into, all the hobbies, taught me how to ride a bike, taught me how to do all the fucking dad stuff, right?
Oh yeah.
But this is some of my earliest memories of my dad, because this dude had the worst fucking luck. And also, we're just going to keep referencing old episodes, so if you go back to probably, I think in the first 10 episodes, I tell a story about how a moth flew into my dad's ear and got stuck.
I recently re-listened to that one, and it's so fucking hard, dude.
It's gnarly.
Oh!
Yeah, and that happened when I was like 12 or 13, I think. But growing up, there were a few things, and oh my God. So here, well, I'll start with this one that I wasn't involved in. When I was like, God, probably 2 or 3. I don't even remember the incident, but it was told to me. My dad was working at this newspaper, the Triangle Review.
Right.
And he was working late one night. Everyone had left the office. He was doing some last minute copy or photo editing or whatever it was he was exactly doing there. Completely empty office. He's there at like 10 at night. And because there's no one in the office, he kicked his shoes off and was just walking around in his socks, fucking doing his work.
Okay.
Yep. And he finishes his work, puts his shoes on, bikes home, gets home, takes off his shoes, and one of his shoes is filled with blood.
What?
Yeah, like filled with blood, and his sock is soaking with blood. And he pulls the sock off and comes to find out that there are multiple X-Acto blades in his shoe.
What the fuck?
Yeah. And he rode his bike home with X-Acto blades in his shoe, and because X-Acto blades are so insanely sharp, he didn't feel the myriad cuts. Like,
oh my god.
Because you don't feel a cut on X-Acto blades. You feel it later.
Yeah, no, I've had...
And especially when oxygen hits that cut.
Like, I've cut myself with insanely sharp chef knives, and, like, there is no pain.
Yep. Yep.
It's fine.
To this day, no one knows why that happened or how that happened.
Are you fucking serious?
Yep.
I'm like, oh, okay, there's got to be some really weird but logical explanation for him having multiple X-Acto blades in his shoe.
Nobody knows. Nobody knows.
Because he was there by himself.
He was there by himself. And it was a small office. It was this small little fucking rag, dude. Like, I don't even know. I can't speculate how many employees that did work there. But
does he have any witnesses?
My mom.
Okay.
Yeah.
Motherfucker.
Yeah. And look, my dad's a lot of things, but he's not a gaslighting psycho. So it's not like he did it to himself for attention or something, right?
I mean, like, let's be fucking real. If you were a gaslighting psycho, there's a lot of things that you could do to fucking produce the same result that aren't as incredibly damaging. You know, like your feet, dude?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah. And so that was a thing that happened to my dad. I also remember a time, so man, and again, shout out to early dad, because he really did fucking work his ass off. We only had one car. And so he used to ride his bike to the next town, to Loveland, which is still actually kind of a haul. And we were on the south end of Fort Collins, and even the north end of Loveland. I mean, that's still like 15 miles.
Wow.
And he would ride his bike to go work at this chemical company.
Like, even at full tilt, that's an hour minimum, you know?
Oh, yeah. It was more than an hour. And and there was one day he was riding his bike home from work, and just out of nowhere got attacked by wasps, and fucking like 15 wasps like descended upon him and like stung the shit out of his fucking like face and neck and shit. Like, that was a thing that happened.
That poor bastard.
Yeah. He while he was working at this chemical company also, they worked with these like really expensive, I guess they were like chemical ovens. I don't know how else to put it, but they were like ovens that would like treat chemicals. They would do things to chemicals,
like a vacuum oven.
Yeah, totally. Okay. He accidentally spilled some mercury into one of these ovens and like blew it up, and like if he was in the room when it blew up, like he would have fucking died.
Whoa, dude.
Yeah, dude. He also he was working on the family car once at home, and was working on the transmission and pulled the transmission out, and the chain broke, and he dropped an entire transmission on his foot.
Holy fuck.
Nearly lost his big toe.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Can we circle back on one thing real quick?
Yeah, dude, totally.
How long was he working at this chemical plant?
A while, like a couple of years, or like a year or more. Yeah.
How long before? Like, was that before you were born? When you were little?
That was when I was little. Yeah. Because that's where, because actually at that chemical plant was where he got access to some stuff. So he brought home mercury, like, and we like fucked around with it.
Well, and I don't mean to like do any weird foreshadowing or fuck with anything that's going to come later, but I know a lot about mercury poisoning. And
yeah, so we touched mercury for sure, but not a ton.
Sure, but I'm saying if he was in a place where it could have maybe been aerosolized, even if it was by mistake, it's bioaccumulative.
I mean, that's interesting, but that wasn't the only thing they worked with.
Okay, fair.
And it wasn't what he exclusively worked with. I see where you're going with this. And look, maybe, dude, because what he does... It can cause
personality changes.
Yeah, what he does after this, the change that he made at a certain point, there's almost no explanation for it.
And that's why I'm like, oh, Mercury, really?
Yeah, but I think the real explanation for it is that he...
And I'm not trying to, get into this right now.
Yeah, that
I wanted to maybe,
He never found his footing in life, okay. And then he sort of panicked and freaked out and didn't really like what his life had become, which is scrapping all the time to make this family work that,
yeah.
I don't know, man. That's my speculation on it.
Fair. But, I didn't mean to derail us too much, but,
No. Yeah, I mean, that's interesting.
Poisonings,
I mean, that's the thing I've never thought of, so...
absolutely can completely alter personalities. But
oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
If it wasn't repeated prolonged exposure, I don't think that's a likely catalyst. So
no, I don't think so. But again, who knows? I don't know. That chemical company is still around, but yeah.
And I'm getting most of this from S-Town. I don't know if you've heard that.
Oh yeah, S-Town rules. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we actually listened to that at the beginning of quarantine.
Yeah,
that shit is fucking wild.
Fascinating.
Dude. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, if you're gonna go listen to another podcast, make it S-Town, folks.
Damn straight. Yeah. Oh man, in fact, I think I need to listen to that one again. It's been 5 years.
Oh yeah, it's real good. It's good on a repeat listen as well.
Well, especially because there's a pretty serious twist.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Anyway,
so he just I swear this guy just had the worst fucking luck. So here's stuff I was involved in. I think I must have been about 2 or 3, and I was standing over my dad. He's laying on his back on the ground, and I'm kind of straddled over him, standing over him, and we're playing hands or whatever, just goofing around,
sure,
whatever. And then I grabbed this glass paint jar, a little mason jar size paint jar.
Sure.
And I'm holding it over his head, and he's putting his hands up in front of his face, don't do it, as if I'm gonna drop it or whatever. And then he's sort of egging me on of just better not do it, don't do it. And so
So you're oh, it's a game.
Yeah, I was it's a game, because he's chiding me into it of better not do it.
Yeah. That is not how you tell a kid not to do something.
Yeah, and I think he thought I would just sort of let go and that he'd just catch it.
Oh.
But little baby strength, I fucking reel it up and slam it. Throw it at him.
Oh, Jesus.
And he throws his hands up just in time, but it shatters on his hands.
Oh my God.
And fucking slices his lip open and his forehead. He had to get stitches.
Did he have a ring on his hand or something?
Actually, I think it did break on the wedding ring. Okay. I think that's what it was.
Because I'm how the fuck do you break a jar on someone's hands?
Yeah, I think that's what it was, actually. Never put that together either.
Fuck.
But yeah, just shattered this fucking paint jar
oh my God.
Onto my dad's face.
Wow.
It fucked him up, man.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So there's that one.
He had to deal with that, and there's a baby involved. That's the craziest
part.
It's you're still a child.
Yeah.
And
I barely even remember that incident.
He's bleeding, and he's I gotta.
Yeah, I think he did sort of have to pick me up, put me somewhere, and was do not move as he's bleeding out his forehead and shit.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I don't really remember that incident at all.
I knocked my dad out with a rock when I was 3, so
dude, yes.
He's
it'll happen.
Teach me how to skip stones, and turns his back on me for a second, and I grab a rock the size of my head and just fucking heave it right at his head. Gave him a fucking huge goose egg, and I'm pretty sure he was seeing stars for at least a few seconds.
Dude. Yeah. Yeah, so that one, there's that one. Then there was one day where we had lit off a bunch of the snakes for 4th of July.
Yep.
And and we had just lit off a ton of them in the driveway, and just like, oh, that's sick. And then my dad had to like run inside for something. He's like, I'll be right back. Like, I just got to run inside. And while he ran inside, I just went and fucking grabbed them all, like just gathered them all up in my hands and just smeared them all over my hands and my fucking arms, because I was like, they're like coloring my fucking arms like black or whatever, but they're like it's like ash and lye and shit, right? And he comes out and I'm just covered basically head to toe in all this ash and shit. And I remember this one, I do remember, because he was like, arms out like an airplane, follow me. And then just like walks me into the bathroom and like throws me in the shower.
I mean, that's a good move, honestly.
Yeah, it's just like,
that's a dad move.
I constantly fucked with him though, and unintentionally. I was just being a kid, but I just remember all these incidents. There was this one incident too where it was me and him alone. Mom was at work, and he had taught me how to use the stereo, so I knew how to put music on.
Sure.
And I knew how the volume knob worked. I also fucking loved scaring people when I was a kid, like jumping out from behind corners and like leaping out of closets and shit.
I did the same shit.
I thought it was the funniest shit you could ever imagine, dude.
Yeah, because kids are fucking psychos.
Yeah, totally. And I just thought it was the greatest thing ever. Somehow I got this whole thing in my head. So my dad is in the shower. I can hear the shower on. And so I put Pink Floyd on.
Okay.
And I think I put on The Wall. And then I just cranked the volume to like nearly max. So it is booming throughout the entire household, just so fucking loud. And I am literally hiding behind this speaker that I still have in this house.
Those speakers still sound good, by the way, ladies and gentlemen.
These 80s Serwin Vega wood boxes, they sound incredible, but I'm like 3. And so I fucking crouch behind the speaker, knowing he's going to come running out of the shower, wondering why the fucking music's so loud. And sure enough, he does. So he comes running out with a towel around his waist. And then I leap out from behind the speaker, and I was like, and he fucking, like, he jumped, man. Like, he jumped a foot and, like, lost his fucking mind. That was one of the few times my dad got really angry with me.
No.
Because he, like, ran over and turned the music down and was like, what the fuck is your problem, dude? Like, why would you do this? Why would you make me freak out? Like, I'm in the shower, all of a sudden I just hear Pink Floyd booming at the maximum volume it could be, and then it's just you pranking me? Like, go fuck yourself, little kid. Like, he was so mad, dude.
I mean, he's not wrong.
He was not wrong, and I kind of got it. I was like, okay, yeah, that was fucked up. I don't know why I did that.
Like, you know, it's hard for me to really, like, judge this situation too much, because I definitely come from a household with like some fucking verbal abuse and shit, so like,
yeah,
you know, I don't want to like throw my hat into the ring too hard here, but like, well, sometimes I feel like negative reinforcement is appropriate.
Well,
you know?
and I'm paraphrasing his reaction a little bit, because he was definitely a little bit more fucking chill than that, but he was really mad.
I'm just saying, like, if your kid's a total shit, sometimes you need to yell at them.
Oh, yeah. Oh, he yelled at me, and that might have been one of a few spankings that I got. Like,
right.
Maybe.
And like I said, I'm not trying to throw my hat into the ring too hard here, because, you know, I was also spanked and fucking yelled at a lot, so, like, maybe I'm fucking wrong, but, like, that sounds like the right thing to do in this situation.
Oh, yeah. It was fucked up. I don't know why I did it. I don't know. But I mean, I used to just drive him fucking crazy with this shit.
Dude, no, it's just normal for kids to test boundaries, especially a fucking, like, male-only child. Like,
yeah,
come on.
And I would do this shit with him all the time, and also, like, because he would also... So he would read me, like, both parents read me bedtime stories, but he would read me weirder stuff. So, like, we read... so the first book I ever read out loud. Like, I read to him because I learned to read at a very early age. I was like 2.5, and I'm like reading words and reading sentences. Yeah, the very first book we ever read together, with me reading the words out loud to him and him explaining what's going on, was A Wrinkle in Time.
Shit.
Which is like a kid's book by any standard, but not a 2-year-old book.
No, so, I read that book in the 4th grade, and it was early for us too. We were in tag, you know, like.
And then he read 2001: Space Odyssey to me when I was like 2.5, 3.
Okay.
Yeah. So, like, it was interesting. But that's what's so cool about, like, early dad. He was into some cool shit, and he was like, well, you know, I'm going to show my kid the cool shit, dude.
Absolutely. No, that is cool as fuck.
And so... Yeah, and so my boundary testing definitely got strange with, like, I'm going to crank Pink Floyd and see what happens. I don't know. It was interesting.
And you know, if you'd had a fucking, you know, a younger brother or something, like, you probably would have been pranking him instead. But, like, you had no one else.
No, I just, and, you know, a lot of days it was just me and Dad around. And so it was just like, you know what? This dude gets it. Like, I'm going to fuck with him. And because of that, too, I would fucking incessantly torture him with shit with, like, making up words and then asking him what they mean. Like, you know, I'd be like, Dad, what's glorg mean? And he'd be like, that's not a word. And I'd be like, okay, well, what does jurnog mean? And he'd be like, that's not a word. And then I'd be like knocking on the bathroom. I'd be like, Dad, what's this word? And he's like, that's not a word.
Too smart with nothing to do.
Yeah, totally. And I just drive him up the walls with that shit.
I seriously think that's why some parents are so hardcore about, like, making their children fucking learn shit, is so that they'll just shut the fuck up. It's like, no, you have to do all of this math or you will never get to do anything ever again.
Right.
Just so that you can be out of my fucking hair forever, you know?
Like, totally. No, I totally get it, man. Like, looking back on it, I'm just like, yeah, I would have driven me fucking crazy too. Like,
good Lord.
Yeah. So the last childhood memory I have of fucking with my dad, and also, like, the Venn diagram of his bad luck and me involved with that, was there was one night, and I was probably, like, a little older. I was probably, like, 4 at this point, and I had this super sick Hot Wheels collection. Like, lots of good Hot Wheels, hand-me-downs from my uncles and stuff, too. So, old ones, back when they weren't, you know, just made of, like, plastic and whatnot. Like, some of them were, like, full-blown fucking metal top to bottom.
Yes. Those were the shit.
I had this, like, white cargo van that was just, like, solid metal, like, all the way through. I mean, this thing, like, felt like a rock in your palm. Like, it was so fucking legit. And this one night, my dad had some friends over, and, you know, and again, me and my dad, we were buds. We hung out all the time. Like, he constantly fucking, you know, read me stories, played music for me. Like, we did stuff together all the time. But he had some friends over one night and put me to bed a little early without a bedtime story. And I was pissed and told him as much. But he was like, I have company. Like, you have to go to bed early. It's just this one time. We'll read tomorrow. Just go to bed. And I was not okay with that, and so I went and dug through all my Hot Wheels, and I found this white cargo van, this fucking heavy as a stone white cargo van. And I walked out of my bedroom, down the hall, rounded the corner, saw my dad, as he liked to do, leaning back in his chair, rocking on the back too, you know, had a drink in his hand, he's got his 2 buddies sitting there or whatever. And I fucking whipped it at him. I just shook this fucking...
But what'd you do first?
Well, no, it's not what I did first, because I threw it first.
Okay.
And then, as the car was a mere 3 inches from his fucking head, I said, "Hey, Dad, look out!" Just so that he would turn and look at me right as this thing fucking nailed him in the forehead.
That is fucked up.
Yep. And it nearly knocked him out of his chair because, holy shit. It's this fucking stone of a fucking Hot Wheels car. Just solid fucking steel. Clocks him. Again, made him bleed out of his forehead.
Jesus.
And he fucking tears out of that chair and grabs me, and that was the spanking I really remember. Because that did not go over well.
Oof, dude.
But I did think it was super funny to give him the heads up at the last minute.
I mean, that's some evil genius shit. Like,
yeah.
Understanding the reaction time well enough to fucking pull it off.
Yes.
Like, oh god.
Yeah. Yeah. So that didn't go over too well. Not really? Surprisingly.
Yeah,
and
shocking.
and not going to get into a spanking discussion here, but no. I will say this much, that his reaction to that definitely shaped a lot of me being a lot more of a respectful kid, and definitely didn't act out a line near as much after that. Because clearly that was way out of line.
Yeah.
And his reaction was an equal reaction to that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah. When you get clocked with a fucking 4-pound fucking Matchbox cargo van in the dome while you're just trying to have a good night with your friends with a glass of wine in your hand or whatever, like, yeah, dude.
That's fucked up for sure. I will say that, like, I've definitely known parents who, like, will let their kids hang out for a minute until it's actually their bedtime, and then put them to bed while the friends are there.
Well, and if I recall, he did, but I went to bed without a bedtime story, and I was just fuck this.
Well, you said that you had to go to bed early, and I'm like...
a little bit early, and early because I knew everyone was hanging out, and I was just like, I could hang out.
Exactly.
And he puts me to bed like I'm a fucking child.
That's what I'm saying. Like, this is the thing. Like, kids can fucking hang, man. Like,
dude, kids can hang.
Let them fucking hang out.
But he wanted, like, a night with his buddies to, like, drink some wine or whiskey or whatever they were drinking.
And like, if like homie's got to leave early, like, I get it. We got to put the kid to bed early. Like, maybe that's a piece of information that we didn't have there. But like, if that's not the case, then your dad was kind of being a dick.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. There was a reason for it, and I don't know what that reason was.
That's fair.
I didn't warrant throwing a fucking steel block at his head.
Yeah, it like, nothing warrants getting your forehead ripped open by your kid, especially with that evil ass fucking premeditated fucking bullshit. Like,
which I do remember this incident pretty clearly. I do not remember thinking that out. I actually almost wonder if it was a last minute, like, what have I done? And then I was like, look out, but then it, like, made it worse. I think it was like, shit, I shouldn't have done that. Hey, you better look out. But then it, like, made him turn to look just so it got him, like, right between the eyes instead of, like, off the side of the dome or something. Right. Like, yeah, man. Fucking... Damn. But yeah, had baller aim at fucking 4 years old, so...
Nailed it.
Yeah, dude.
God damn.
Oh, man. So that's what I remember from early life with my dad, and that was home life before my folks got divorced. These are like some of my I shouldn't say best memories. They're just memories I have, and just like a little bit of a window into like this guy's life growing up with fucking me, I guess.
Dude, like, honestly, that's super fucking cool that you had a stay-at-home dad who is your fucking pal, you know? Like,
yeah, and look, and here's some other stuff. Here's just a couple other things that we did that weren't me somehow fucking him up or him, like, having the worst luck ever. Like, he took me to air shows a lot, which was super tight.
Yeah,
and like,
I loved air shows.
He's got some really fucking good photography of me as a kid, and like, we did photography together. So at an early age, he would put a camera in my hand, just be like, "Dude, just snap off of fucking a roll of film, dude. Just whatever," and, and then so we did a lot of that stuff too. And he would play board games with me, and like, yeah, he was truly like a really fucking good dad until the divorce happened. And then he was still a pretty good dad, but he didn't really know how to navigate that because then it was a shared custody situation. My mom had full custody, obviously, and then so then I'm only spending every other weekend and then like occasional weeknights when it worked out, and so then things got weird, and then very shortly after that is when he got into the church. The same exact church that my mom fucking, go back and listen to that episode.
Well, yeah, for those of you at home who haven't listened to this episode, that must sound completely fucking insane. And it certainly sounded completely fucking insane to me at the time when I heard your mom telling this story, but there's more detail on it in that episode.
There is. So go back and listen to that episode, and actually we'll
post links.
Yeah, we'll post links, or I'll figure it out. I'll figure out what episode that is. So anyway, though, obviously, the dynamic changed a lot once he wasn't living at home and stuff, and he was still a really good dad for a bit of time, but he was really struggling to make ends meet, and obviously a divorce is going to be hard on everyone involved.
Well, and it's going to change the dynamic no matter what.
Yeah, and so including him, including my mom, including everyone, and it was definitely tough, and he was struggling to kind of stay in work because he didn't really have a career. Again, he was a photographer. He had some journalism skills, and then he was just taking odd jobs and stuff, and so he ended up living in Loveland, and so then it made transporting me back and forth harder, and and I didn't totally get it, and so and all of this episode too is just big shout out to my mom for making a huge effort to let us still have a good relationship and stuff, and he did good for a while.
Well, and for those who haven't heard your mom's episode, yes, she is absolutely a fucking superhero for how much work she did to try to maintain your relationship.
I mean, she's a fucking saint, dude, and she put up with so much, and I'll get into a little more of this too. But things kind of continued as normal as far as the relationship I had with my dad. He wasn't at home anymore, so I would go and spend weekends with him, or weeknights or whatever. We do dinners and stuff, and we got into some cool stuff. I remember he got a computer, and he got one of these old Sierra games. So Sierra was a game developer
homie
from back in the day, and they did these games called Space Quest, King's Quest, Heroes Quest.
Fucking I own every single fucking copy of Space Quest.
They're incredible, yeah. And
Roger fucking Wilco, dude.
Yeah, dude, totally. God, they're fun games. I actually did go and get emulators years later and played through all of them,
Scum VM and all that shit. I had to replay all the old fucking LucasArts games and all the Sierra games.
Yeah.
They're just so fucking good. The writing, man.
Oh yeah, the writing was
incredible.
Fucking gold. And then it was just a different kind of game because you would type in commands while also sort of commanding a character around with arrow buttons and stuff. Yep. But yeah. So he got that, and we would play Space Quest. He would make me dinners. We would come up with games. We actually low key almost tried to market this game where it was just a game we made up on his kitchen floor where we had because we had a couple domino sets, the big heavy weighty dominoes.
Cool.
And what we would do is we would basically each take a set of dominoes, sit on the other side of the kitchen, build a fort, and then fling dominoes across it was basically Crossfire, but on a kitchen floor with dominoes, and we just try and wreck each other's fort with dominoes.
That's cool as fuck.
And then any dominoes that fell off your fort now became ammunition, and you could fling those back at the other person. And he was there's something here, we should market this, he actually was this is really fucking cool. And so we would do that, and things were going fine, as well as they could for, divorced parents and everything. And then he fucking born again, just kind of out of nowhere. And he started getting real into God and real into the Bible.
I could understand it if he fell in love with someone, or
Yep.
Really felt like he needed some opportunities for his career, or there was some kind of an advantage to it. But after seeing what your mom went through, I just don't fucking understand. How he could have fucking swallowed their BS, especially after they fucking estranged her and shit.
Yeah, and I don't know what the catalyst was. you know, and again, go back and listen to that episode with my mom, because she also doesn't fully know, but there must have been some moment, some crises moment in his head where he was like, I can't keep on like this because I'm not getting anywhere. And so maybe, like, God's the answer.
Well, and this is why I suggested mercury poisoning, is because I'm like,
yeah,
maybe that could make you think you can fucking get back at your ex-wife by joining the church that she was estranged from. But, like...
And maybe, you know...
That's straight crazy.
It is crazy. And, yeah, you know, and... My dad always seemed pretty put together, but again, I only had that perspective, and so... And... We'll get into the end of this before too long.
Sure.
So some things might become clearer, but yeah, and so he started going back to church, and it was weird. I was like, why are you doing this? But okay, whatever. You know, I was too young to really get it, and it was like, people go to church. You know, if I can... Even I think I still went to church on, like, you know, Easter and stuff with my grandparents and stuff, because they were those kinds of Christians, like, we go on Easter and sure. Christmas or whatever.
And that's part of why I'm so, like, what the fuck, is because, like, there's plenty of other churches that aren't fucking weird.
Yeah,
he could have, like, hooked up with to just get some kind of stability in his life.
Yeah,
you know? But, like,
well, and I think it was a friend of his who was also into this church, who was another photographer friend, and I think we touch on this in that episode with my mom.
Got it. I'd forgotten about that.
But yeah, and so things just started to get a little weirder. But then he met a woman at this church. And they started dating, and then they moved in together, and it was super weird because she had a kid that was my age, and his name's Joe, and so all of a sudden, it was like weekends with Dad were now weekends with Dad, Pat, which was his girlfriend, and then Joe, and it was interesting because she drank. And my dad never really drank, but right. She drank, and and we watched, and we would watch R-rated movies like Arnold Schwarzenegger movies, like 80s, you know, like I remember watching like Total Recall and like Commando and stuff over at his place. So it was super weird because he like met this woman through church, but she drank. And then we would go over there and we would watch, like, R-rated movies. And I was like, all right, man.
This isn't very churchy.
Yeah, maybe... Well, maybe this isn't so bad. Like, shit.
Oh, yeah,
right,
No,
you know?
Exactly. I mean, like, you're like, all right, I'm on board.
At this point, I'm, like, 7 or 8, or 7, 8, 9, or whatever.
Oh, wow. Yeah, okay.
And I'm getting into, like, comic books. Computers are getting better. Like, now we've got a computer at Mom's house. I'm starting to play a little bit of computer games. I always had a Nintendo. Shout out to my parents. Got me a Nintendo when I was like fucking 5, dude.
NES?
Oh, NES original. Fuck with like Duck Hunt and Mario and yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, so, you know, I'd always kind of like video games and stuff, but... And so it was a weird shift all of a sudden because it was like, you know, hey kid, I've got a girlfriend, and now you've kind of got a stepbrother who's your age, and you've never had a sibling, but you know, this is what it is, and like I'm really happy and I'm in love and stuff. And I was like, all right, man. I mean, I kind of hate this because it was always just like me and Dad palling around, you know, and it's like now I got these other people to like compete for attention with, you know. But it was like, all right, fine, it is what it is.
Sure, you're adapting, you're making do.
And again. And we were also having fun weekends because also, and so his girlfriend, Pat, she was really into Kung Fu. We were doing, like, some Kung Fu stuff.
Dude, nice.
She also had those cool disc guns that shot the little plastic discs, the little tiny round plastic discs.
Yeah.
And she had, like, a whole set of them, so we would have just full-blown disc gun fights around the house and stuff.
Sweet.
Yeah, sleepovers, watching fucking R-rated movies and stuff, and I was like, all right, you know what? Like, this is fine. Yeah. I do like this. This is cool.
That sounds great.
I'm not mad at this at all. And then both of them simultaneously were like, no, we need to be more pious. We need to full lean into, if we're gonna be good Christians, we need to be good Christians. And
God, I wonder what made that happen.
Well, I don't know, man, and I think it was both of them sort of pressuring each other in a way.
It was probably the church.
And it was probably the church of like, oh, yeah, someone probably caught wind of like, oh, you guys watch R-rated movies with your kids and shit.
Like, it's just a common thing with these kind of cults where they're just like, are you really a fucking believer?
Right. Are you doing enough?
Are you really putting your fucking faith where your mouth is?
Yeah.
You know,
yeah. And that's totally true. That probably is a lot of what it was. But
they're always just trying to double down on everybody, you know, and like make them feel bad for just doing fun shit.
Well, and it's funny because in my mind, it was that like Pat made the shift, and so she sort of like became more pious, and then shoved my dad into it. But I think they both sort of did it to each other, and it was just this real quick transition from like, hey, we're all having fun watching R-rated movies and and like we're all having like a good time, to like, oh, we are really fucking buckling down now, and now suddenly we're gonna be a very strict Christian household, and we are going to church every Sunday, and no more R-rated movies, and now we're like concerned about violence, and so like the disc guns went away and all these other things, right?
Jesus Christ.
And I was just like, the fuck is happening? But also I'm still sort of in this place of like, I still sort of look at my dad as like, you know, like, dude hung the moon, man, like a fucking, he's my guy. He was the cool parent, you know, also because he was the weekend parent, and that's always how that goes, right?
Exactly.
Like, mom's the disciplinarian. I go to the weekend with my dad. He cooks me a steak. Mom didn't eat steak. You know, there's just like all these things, right? Yeah. Like, he makes me these fucking meals. He kind of lets me do whatever I want. He lets me stay up late because obviously he can, because it's the weekend.
Yep.
My mom would let me stay up late, but not on school nights. But I didn't have school nights with my dad and shit. So, you know, so it was just this real fucking shitty
rough,
thing.
Dude.
And it's so shitty, dude. And I feel for my mom so much. I feel for all the fucking primary parents in a divorce relationship, because you're always going to take that guff, right?
Exactly.
Because you're no longer, you're the parent who's being the real parent. You're always the one
holding the fucking bag.
Yeah, totally. But you're no longer the cool parent, and then the weekend parent gets to be the cool parent.
Yep.
So
the one who shows up with gifts when they actually show up, you know.
Yep,
but
totally.
Maybe they don't always.
And
you know?
I remember my mom being mad, and I caught wind of this from overhearing like fights with her and her partners and stuff about how my dad's kind of deadbeating it, because he never really held down jobs very well.
Yeah.
He was always kind of in and out of work and not really... And, I mean, he wasn't... I don't know, deadbeat's not like the exact word, but he's kind of a fucking deadbeat, man.
Well, I mean, you know, I don't know if there's another term for someone who, like, only occasionally misses payments, but like...
Well, and he was missing regular payments, and...
Well, then, yeah, I mean, like...
But he was still, like, there. He was available.
There's a spectrum of deadbeat, and your dad was on it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, he wasn't, like, the alcoholic deadbeat or whatever, and this is why it's so weird, all of this, is because, like... And I tell the first half of this story because, like, he really was such a fucking good dad.
Yeah, man.
In many fucking respects. And we'll get to the fucking reason at the end here. But
and like, you know, just to fucking add some context as well, like, dude, early childhood is easy.
Yeah.
Kids are fucking cool until they develop a real fucking personality, and
you
they become complicated.
You just gotta take a Matchbox car or a paint jar to the dome once in a while, and then the rest is fucking cakewalk, dude.
Okay, I mean, like, there's still some blood and guts, but like, you know,
no, but I do get your meaning, right? Yeah,
you know,
like,
kids under fucking 12. Oh, okay, I mean, like, with some gray area, but like, you know, younger kids are not as complicated as fucking older kids, you know?
Right.
And even like under 6 especially, like, they're not even human beings yet. Like, fuck's sake.
Right, yeah, just floppy little fucking disasters walking around.
Yeah, they don't even understand sarcasm. Like, fucking come back to me when you can actually have a conversation, kid. Like, Jesus Christ.
Totally. Oh, man. I'll tell you what I did understand. So my dad liked to tell this story because I think I was 5 years old when this happened, and we were driving down like a dark road in Fort Collins, like probably between Fort Collins and Loveland. There's no street lights around. It's just this, you know, desolate dark road. All you can see is headlights, you know, or your own lights from your car. And I turned to my dad and I said, if we were traveling the speed of light in this car, would we see our own headlights? like around the earth, or see our own tail lights. Like if we were traveling around the earth at the speed of light, would we come up on our own tail lights? And he just like looks at me and is like, the fuck? Like, you know, like, did my 5-year-old kid just ask me this question? And he was like, well, I mean, I think so, actually, but like, holy shit, like, what? Okay, you know, but that's what you get when you read your kid like 2001 and Wrinkle in Time when they're fucking little kids. So.
Exactly.
But yeah, he always loved to tell that story because, like, fucking, what a silly thing for a 5-year-old to say.
Yeah. Also, you would not. But, you know.
Well, if the light is shooting out the back of the tail lights...
Oh, God damn it.
Then I think you would.
Sorry.
I think you actually would see it.
It's fine. We're going to cut this part out anyway.
We're going to cut out Matthew's non-knowledge of speed of light travel.
Yeah, everyone knows that, like, I have a perfect grasp of fucking relativity and fucking physics. So, like,
yeah,
we're definitely going to have to cut that bit.
Okay.
It's fine.
Snip. All right, so... Man.
Side note, I love how many fucking instances there are of me just being like, it's fine, we're going to cut this out.
Oh yeah, and I never cut them out.
I want to say about 50% of them I actually thought that you were going to, and we never have.
Yeah, I rarely do. Well, because I'll listen to them, and it's like, it's like, no, that's good.
Well, and, you know, for the listeners at home, we mostly just cut out burps and fucking... name drops and
yeah
that's about it.
That's it. Yeah.
Oh, and ums. Occasionally there's just like a really long gap with an
occasionally.
Yeah.
And yeah occasionally those.
But yeah.
Yeah,
you're welcome.
There you go. So things got pretty weird pretty fast, and like hanging out with my dad was still okay, but I didn't love my stepbrother. He was, and look, shout out Joe, I hope you're doing great. I don't know what you're like anymore.
Yeah, this is actually a question that I had, is like, how did your brother deal with the fucking crackdown?
So he was also like, so he was interesting. He was a little bit neurotic. He was a little bit of a neurotic kid. He was definitely like a little anxiety ridden, and that's because his dad, Pat's ex-husband, was abusive. I don't think, well, yes, physically abusive.
Fuck.
Not often, I don't think. I think it was one of those, like, there were a few incidents, but he was also like emotionally abusive and just kind of a fucking nutcase.
It really doesn't matter if a kid gets hit once. That's about all it takes.
And I do know that Pat, I know that he was abusive to Pat, my dad's girlfriend.
That's,
and
again, even worse, you know.
Yeah, and so she pulled him out of that situation. But then I think they had like a shared custody, not even like just on weekends. I think he was like week on with dad, week on with Pat, week on with dad. And so he was kind of getting shuffled around a lot. And he was just sort of an anxiety-ridden kid. And he had a lot of like weird little tics that drove me fucking crazy.
Oh shit.
So
that
like
sucks.
He had that thing which yeah, like no shade on like people who do it or whatever. It's a tic. It's a fucking thing. But he had that thing where he would watch your mouth as you were talking, and then he would try and say the words as you were like finishing the sentence.
His mouth would move with the words that you were saying,
and then he'd like kind of utter them out loud, but then he'd like get them wrong, and it's like, and it would feel like he's interrupting you, you know? And it was like, dude, just let me say the thing that I was trying to say.
Yeah, I see that happening.
And he like lost
with some of the people that I know, but like most of the time they're just moving their mouth, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But if they're actually saying shit out loud, that's fucking awkward.
And it's just like a social anxiety thing. It's like it's just a tick you have, and he actually did kind of lose it after the first couple of years, and like when he started to like settle down a little bit.
Well, I should also say it's perfectly natural, and like
it is right.
Most people kind of do it unconsciously, like internally, and like during moments of stress or like whatever, like it will come out on your actual musculature, but like for the most part, it's just internalized.
But yeah, and he was just like, because he wanted also to do like, because I was kind of a typical boy. I mean, I liked boy stuff, you know? I liked comic books and guns and fucking... or, like, toy guns, you know?
Yeah,
I like comic books and toy guns and, you know, riding bikes and wrestling around and football. And, I mean, I liked all of these things, right? And I think he... What I know of him now, though, like, because I think he went on to join the military and stuff, and so he's much more of a man's man than I ever turned out to be. But I think he wasn't really at the time, because we would get into, you know, we would play games, obviously, and, like, chase each other around and, like, do stuff, play hide and seek and stuff like that. But we would also get into, like, towel whipping wars.
Oh,
and I would...
Do I know about that?
And I would fucking get him so hard, like, every fucking time, and he'd, like, cry, and then I'd be like, fuck, and he's, like, a little older than me. And, you know,
no.
Or, like, I mean, he was only, like, not even a full year older than me, but he was, like,
Still
a little
though,
older than me, so we were, like, the same age and
that's
shit.
a little
And he was
emasculating.
bigger than me, too,
Oh,
like,
God.
much bigger than me, and so, like, he would definitely win, like, wrestling matches when we get into, like, pillow fights or wrestling or whatever.
Dude, a damp towel can be savage as fuck.
Oh, well, yeah, and and I was pretty good at it, and so I'd get him, but he'd egg it on. He'd be like, let's do it, and he'd, like, get after me. And I'd be like, all right, motherfucker, you want to do this? You know, and get him, and then he'd cry, and then it'd be like, oh no, dude, I didn't mean to fuck you up that bad.
I mean, I get that. Like, I played Bloody Knuckles way too much as a fucking kid too, but like, why? Why do kids fucking do that shit? It's so right? dumb.
It's again, it's all the pushing boundary stuff. It's like, let's test fucking pain thresholds and tolerances and, like, see what we're capable of doing to ourselves and to others and see how we're okay with that we are.
I guess I just got really good with a towel and, like, fucking raised some big ass welts and even drew blood a couple of times.
Same. I was good with a towel, dude.
Like, my wrist can flick, dude.
Yep. Yeah, I had the snap, dude. I had the snap. I was fucking Thanosing that motherfucker.
Yes. Like my parents were just like, you're not going to be allowed to fucking come near a dish towel ever again.
Oh, I mean...
Fine with me. And they're like, well, hold on.
We did get... yeah, right, wait a second. We did get cut off from playing fucking dish towel wars, because, it always ended with him getting fucked up. Ugh. But, I mean, also, like, some of our wrestling matches ended with me getting fucked up. So, like, it was okay. But through all of this, it was... You know, I mean, I'm just living my life trying to get through fucking the end of elementary school and early junior high. And so, it would have been end of elementary school. I must have been in, like, 6th grade, around 12 years old. So the one thing me and my dad still always bonded on really well and that I knew I could always talk to him about was music, man. I mean, he got me into all the cool music, like... So much cool music. The bands he didn't like were Led Zeppelin and the Beatles. Or, like, he didn't really listen to them that much, but he got me into Floyd, Sabbath, like, AC/DC, Blue Oyster Cult, like...
God, that tracks. It's so weird how, like, the heads who were into those bands hated the Grateful Dead and the Beatles. And, like...
Yeah. Well, and he probably even did like Zeppelin. I remember him telling me a story about going to see Zeppelin and the Who in LA when he was a kid for $10.
Oh my fucking god,
dude! Yeah, like 1976, like Zeppelin and the Who, $10.
Jesus,
I don't even know, but yeah. And so he had this sick vinyl record collection, fucking sick collection.
I believe it.
This next tale is brutal. And I think it's part of why I collect vinyl to this day, is just to make up for the sins of my father, dude.
Oh, no.
So my dad when he got real into the throes of Born Again, like, we're talking, he's at his deepest level here, because he actually did sort of mellow out after this, but he got real into it. And yeah, it would have been about 1990, 91-ish, right? It was even, like, pre-Nirvana. I remember that because I wasn't in Nirvana yet. He decided that music was devil music.
Oh, no.
That, like, effectively everything he listened to was a spawn of the Satan. And I remember he had these books, you know, these books that were definitely passed on to him through the church. Like, people handing him these books about, like, and I loved these books because all they were album cover galleries for me. But they were actually books about, like, here's why AC/DC is, like, possessed by the devil. And here's all the signs.
God.
Look at fucking Angus wearing horns on the cover of this album. That's clearly, and Goathead Soup and Kiss is Knights in Satan's Service. And fucking...
Oh, my God.
And Blue Oyster Cult, they're a cult, and blah, 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 blah. And it's just... all these
that
books
church isn't a fucking cult.
Yeah, dude. And all these books were just literally, like, taking album by album, picking them apart and being like, here's why this is fucking the fucking music of the devil, dude.
Also, here's a roadmap for the best music available today. Like...
Well, so literally, right? And so I used to paw through these books and was just like, hell yeah, man.
You're like, I've never heard of this band. They're probably pretty cool.
Yeah. Totally. And, and then it had, and of course it was all this hype stuff about... Ozzy Osbourne bit the head off a bat and shit. Like, fucking only demons do that and all this shit, dude. And so, my dad... Man, content warning. My dad decided to destroy his entire record collection. And not just destroy it. Not just, I'm going to get rid of it, take it to the dump. Well, he wasn't going to donate it. He wasn't going to give the fucking devil's message to, like, someone.
He couldn't have at least just fucking sold it to a fucking record store? Like...
Because that's perpetuating. That's taking the fucking mark of the beast to sell the fucking devil's message to someone else.
Yeah, because that doesn't clearly indicate you as a cult member.
I asked all these questions when he brought this to me.
Oh, fuck's sake, he told you he was going to do it before he did it?
Well, I went there on one weekend and he was like, this is what's happening this weekend. We're destroying my record collection.
And so you planned an Ocean's 11 heist to fucking get your friends in there and fucking steal all the records before he fucking pulled it off.
So here's the really crummy thing, is that I was too young to totally get it. I was also young enough that destroying things was still just fun.
I mean, and also, like, at that age, you probably don't understand that those things are unique at this point, and there's no way to buy those again.
Right. And, well, I mean, there is ways to rebuy them, but, like, they
are... sure, but they're not something that most people want to do at this point.
Yeah, totally. And, I mean, he just had this insane collection. Like...
Well, and that's the seed.
Like, over 100 records of just some of the best classic rock you could possibly imagine.
Well, and also, like, fuck, man, he probably bought them shits when they were, like, first or second pressing, and they had, like, some good-ass fucking, like, heavy vinyl and shit, you know?
He had some incredible pressings. He also took really good care of them, so all the sleeves were in good shape, all the liner notes were still there, like, everything was there. And... I went there one weekend and he said, this is what we're doing because I need to detach myself from the devil ways of this music or whatever the fuck. Whatever the fuck his reasoning was.
So this chill fucking hippie decided to fucking... I don't know, man.
Yep, and so we went out and this is the fucked up thing. This is, like, seriously such a scarring moment, and this is kind of like, this was the beginning of the end, right? Because this was the moment where it turned around for me, because I didn't fucking get it at all. I was like, this is fucking stupid, dude. Can't you just exist in, like, both places at once? Can't you appreciate this music because it's music?
Dude.
And also, like, still worship your God because that's okay too. And this was the moment that this was literally the moment that I renounced God, Jesus, religion entirely, because I was like, if this is what it drives people to do, to destroy artwork, to fucking not understand that, like, nothing is a monolith. That, like, you can do both. You can appreciate what things are while also, like, not fucking bowing to it.
Right?
And vice versa. I can even, like, and I'm a fucking staunch atheist. And I'm not going to suggest that, like, people should get into religion, but I can also respect what religion does for people without fucking vehemently, violently trying to destroy the things around it, dude.
Absolutely.
I don't want to burn down cathedrals.
No.
Or burn fucking Bibles.
No.
You know? Like dude, even though I strongly disagree with those things.
Absolutely. But so let people do what they want to do.
Yeah, and so this was the moment that really turned it around for me, because not only did he decide to destroy his entire record collection, fucking involve me in it, but he did it in a public display. Meaning, we lived like almost downtown in Fort Collins. We lived a block away from the library, which was a huge walking area for people. People were around. It was a very cool fucking house to live in, by the way, or to go spend time at, because I could just literally a block away from the library, and then a really nice park attached to it, and a museum attached to that park. So I spent a lot of my weekends just like hanging out at the library, fucking going to that museum, hanging out in that park.
Sounds great.
That also meant there was a lot of foot traffic around there, and so he decided to put up cinder blocks in the front fucking yard and one by one destroy every single record in his collection with a sledgehammer. It was an all day event.
The fuck?
Like from noon to like 6. We're out there fucking breaking records in front of God and everyone.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Just let that sink in.
Dude.
Let that sink in for everyone for a second. Like, that shit is fucked up, man.
I mean, like...
I'm not gonna edit out this long pause,
dude.
Because here's the thing:
it hurts me.
Yeah,
and like one thing that I like just cling to in my life is the notion that one of the marks of intelligence is being able to hold two contradictory ideas in your mind at the same time.
It's literally the mark of intelligence, because the world is complicated, and not everything is one or the other.
And so doing this kind of shit just like shows that you've got your fucking brain turned off, you know?
Yep.
Like, it's just sad.
It is. It's fucking sad. And I didn't get it. And fucking the tragedy of it all too is that I got it, but I didn't get it. And I was a fucking kid, and I was like, I'm down to break shit with sledgehammers.
I mean,
so I broke fucking records with sledgehammers. I helped him. I helped him do it, man.
Let me just hold your hand for a second.
Okay.
It's like, I understand.
Yeah.
That you've got that's got to hurt you.
I fucking helped him do it, man. Like, it's fucked up, dude. So this was the turning point for sure, and I'll never forget that day. And I remember walking away from it and being like, I fucking helped him do it. What the fuck? What has happened to me? What is going on?
Right. That's
fuck, dude. These were records that I listened to with him as a kid.
Exactly.
We bonded over these records. Like, he showed me these records.
He's fucking shattering his life with you.
Yeah. In front of me.
Fucked up.
And in front of everyone.
To help him do it.
And people are walking by and asking, what are you doing, man? And he's like,
fuck,
giving my life to God.
Oh my fucking God.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, it's infuriating, right?
God damn it.
God damn it.
Well, I wish I had other swear words that weren't fucking God and Jesus and all this shit, because those are the ones that really fucking mean something.
I'll tell you what, man. I lean on fucking blasphemes a lot. I don't know why. But,
homie, not to get too far off the fucking subject, but that's all they have in French Canada. Like, their worst fucking swear word is tabernacle, which is short for tabernacle. Because every single one of their swear words is something that's in the back of a church. It's ridiculous.
Wild.
But yeah, so like the strongest swears are the ones about God, man.
Yeah,
like,
and that's probably why I've leaned into him so hard and like kept him for all these years, because I probably say Jesus more than any word on a regular basis, dude. It sucks.
I'm flabbergasted, I'm like, fucking Jesus, dude. You know, like, that's what we say.
Yeah, Jesus, God damn it. I just even will exclaim God, like, God. Yeah. Like, I do this all the time, man. But and it's just baked into me, dude.
I'm not religious. Like, none of that means anything.
It means nothing to me. But I know it, like, has weight.
Yeah.
Still in this world, so.
And I mean, like, you know, it also has something to do with, like, the series of vowels and consonants, because it's just a satisfying word to say.
Yep.
But still.
Yeah.
Blasphemy is our strongest swears. And it sounds really fucking weird in this context of, like, this whole God delusion,
you
know?
Yeah, so Jesus of fucking Christland. Yeah, so that happened, and that was definitely the beginning of the end for the next few years, which got really weird and really contentious, because at that point, that's when he went hard, and it was mandatory to go to church. And we were going to church every Sunday, and I fought tooth and nail every fucking Sunday, but he was like, no, you're coming if you're going to stay with me on the weekend. We go to go to church on Sunday. So then I started being like, I don't know if I want to go to Dad's on the weekends anymore, man. Like, what if we just went back to like a weeknight dinner, and then I don't do weekends? Or what if I left on Saturday? Yeah. Like, what if I just Friday night, Saturday, come home? But that wasn't the court agreement, and even though I was like, asking my mom of like, what, you know, how about we do this? And she was like, well, but he's gonna fight it because it's his court agreement and da-da-da, and it was just this
and
whole
there's no way that
thing.
He's gonna agree to that if you're like, hey man, what if we just had like Friday and Saturday?
And I think I was able to pull that off here and there, but he definitely also really wanted me to be going to church.
Of course.
And so some other weird things happened around this time too, because I started like collecting comics around this time. And so I'm bringing home comic books, and then he started kind of vetting them a little bit, and was like,
"All right, because it's the weekend when you can actually go to the comic book."
Well, yeah, shop. and I lived like a.
And you're right downtown.
I'm right downtown. Yeah. I lived a 15-minute walk from Haley's Comics. R.I.P. Haley's Comics. They just went out of business this last year. But
is it like Haley's Comet?
Haley's Comics.
That's so fucking good.
Oh, they were adorable. It was this old couple. They had cats in the shop, which is hilarious because that's so bad for collectibles. Yeah. But like, God, it was amazing. And actually, this was back in the 90s. I'm pretty sure they smoked in this shop too. It smelled like cigarettes and cat piss in there.
Yeah, they definitely smoked in the shop.
Yeah, and they were just old hippies who sold fucking comics, but that's where I had my little hold box, and that's where I bought all my early comics, because they were just a stone skip away, a walk, you know, and I would just take my allowance down there, and we'd fucking... And then in 5th grade, my best friend Seth, who also lived kind of like near downtown, but a little bit opposite side of where my dad lived. So it was also a 15-minute walk from his house. So when we would have sleepovers at his house, me and him would take our allowance down, and we would go and fucking spend it all on comics and come back to his house and fucking read them.
Nice.
But I started bringing home comics, and my dad started kind of vetting them and not liking them. I brought home like a comic called Blue Devil, you know?
Oh no.
Yeah, old DC fucking stalwart Blue Devil. You know, and it was a bad comic. I bought them because they were fucking 50 cents an issue.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure that was just some fucking bullshit pulp fucking...
Oh, it was. It was super bad. And the only reason I bought it was because I could buy the entire run for $3 for my $3 allowance. I could get issue 1 through 8 for $3 or whatever, you know. Yeah. So I bought those, and he started getting real grumpy about that. So we did have a computer at the house, and that's when I started playing Warcraft 2.
Dude, that was a sick fucking game.
Warcraft 2 is the shit. And, and me and my stepbrother liked to play it together. Of course. And then he put the kibosh on that because orcs are fucking demons. Because that was one of the factions. You either played humans or orcs.
Well, if he'd actually played the game, he'd realize that, like, that's the whole orc fucking redemption cycle. Like, come on, man.
Tell me about it, dude. But yeah, so he stopped us from playing that game. He's like, you can't play this game. It's demons. It's full of demons.
What a piece of shit.
That was his whole thing.
Yes,
like,
there's demons in the game,
demon.
but the orcs are fucking breaking free from them, you piece of shit. Like,
yeah.
Oh, what was so good about the writing in Warcraft, dude? Like,
yeah, man. Luckily, I got to go back and play Warcraft 2 and 3 later in my years and enjoy the shit out of those games.
Oh, 3 was the shit, dude.
3 was the shit, dude.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, and so things just started landsliding super hard where it's just like, dude, I can't do this anymore. Like, you're becoming a fucking psychopath with your religious...
Clearly, yeah.
Like, Bible thumping and, and just making us go every fucking weekend. And, and we went to... oh my god, dude. We went to this church called the Vineyard, which was like the cool church, like the hip church.
Fucking damn it! I'm already out. Like,
yep.
I know that this is bullshit. It sounds like some yuppie nonsense.
It is, and we went to like the late service, which was called Rock Church.
Shut the fuck up!
Yeah, because they had like a band on stage that would sing hymnals, but like, but with drums and an electric guitar. And
all right,
shit.
no.
Yeah, and then they had like a youth group that I would go to. Until I stopped going because they were worse than the Rock Church. I was like, this is some fucking real culty shit. I was like, I'd rather just listen to the Rock Church hymnals than fucking these weirdos.
Oh, dude.
And
that's rough.
I mean, there's been like... I could probably do like a whole episode on the Vineyard and Rock Church, but just go watch like the South Park episodes that are about this, like, because I know there's one or two. It is just like everything you expect, where you go to the youth group and it's like some fucking white guy with like cornrows or like crummy white guy dreadies, and he like spins the chair around backwards and like says fuck once, and you're like, oh man, this dude's cool, he's hip, he gets it. And then he just sits and fucking preaches to you and just like, it's the worst, dude.
That's so bad.
And all it is like horned up fucking preteens and teenagers who are just like, well, we're only here because we don't want to be there.
Yep.
Like, yeah.
Fuck, man. Like, I hit the sweet spot on the Catholic youth group. I mean, we all know that, but like, fuck. Even at the time, I knew that Christian youth groups were like such trash. Like,
yeah,
it was all just marketing.
Yeah.
It's just like, how can we get you to come to church more?
Yeah, totally. And that is exactly what it was. It was also like, how can we get born-agains and recent converts, people who just smashed their entire record collection, to come fucking to church that feels like hip enough for like being in your like mid-30s or whatever. Yeah. And that was it, man. And they fucking got him. They got him hook, line, and sinker. Same with my fucking stepmom, man. Because again, she was kind of the cool one, or like the rowdier one when my dad and her met.
I will say that like this Vineyard thing sounds a little better than the Church of Christ, because like,
look, they are better. They are better.
At least it's not like some straight up cult shit.
They are not straight up a cult. They're just literally a marketing church. Yeah, it's
just plastic Jesus.
Yeah, exactly, dude. Yeah. It's like, well, we're not Unitarians, but,
We all know what Homer has to say about the Unitarians.
Yeah, dude. Shout out to our homie fucking Adam, who was like, he always liked to describe Unitarians as like, what did he say? He's like, yeah, they're into Jesus, but they're into Jesus like this, with like finger guns.
Yeah, dude.
Like,
hey, Jesus, am I right?
Yeah, we're into Jesus, but like, take a hit of weed, finger guns. That's Unitarians.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah. So this was kind of the middle era of my dad. And
hey, Unitarian dad doesn't sound terrible.
It would have been way better, I'll tell you what. And there's not too much more to tell about this middle era, which is effectively that like I started hard questioning everything, but also still really liked my dad. And so as he's becoming more and more religious, he's also like becoming more and more conservative.
Fuck.
And so he is, saying fucking awful things about my mom, because my mom is now an open and out lesbian at this point.
Oh no, dude.
And he's just
no, that your mom's a lesbian.
No, I know.
That he's saying shit about her.
Oh yeah, and he's like, casually reminding me regularly that, like, well, I know you love your mom, but the Bible says that she's gonna go to hell because,
God,
you know,
fucking damn it,
yeah.
Like,
and it's just this stuff,
dude,
man.
Okay, like, so even if he actually thought that was true, like, with all of the fucking work that your mom is doing to make sure that, like, you're still in his life, the least he could have done is fucking kept that shit to himself.
Well, and this is what's really frustrating about the whole thing, is that so I'm suddenly torn because I have all my good memories of my dad and him being the cool parent, and he's still sort of being the cool parent because, again, he's the weekend parent. So even though I hate going to church, and even though I hate all his weird indoctrination shit he's doing to me, it's also still the getaway from the disciplinarian parent.
And it's downtown, and you can go to the comic shop.
And I can go to the comic shop, and I can go to the library, and I can go to the park, and he's still, like, cooking steaks, and my mom's a vegetarian, and so he's, like, cooking steaks, and my mom's making me eat, like, this weird crummy other stuff that I'm not really into.
Quinoa! Yeah, I get it.
And so I'm totally, like, and then once again, I'll just keep telling y'all to go back and listen to the other episode, because my mom talks about this, about how every time I would go and spend a weekend at my dad's, I'd come back and she was like, I had to spend days of deprogramming me because I would sort of fall into his fucking, I'd drink his Kool-Aid and fall into his shit, and he, you know, and then I'm getting to the age where we can talk about politics, and so he's super anti-Clinton because, you know, he's this heathen
probably for the completely wrong ways, yeah.
Oh yeah, you know, and he's this heathen for being an adulterer and getting a blowjob and shit, you know, because there was that whole thing going on in the world. And
I mean, like, let's not mince words. Like, Clinton was a piece of shit, but, like,
fuck yeah, no, I have no fucking love, like, for Clinton, dude, but, like,
not for that reason.
But, dude, the blowjob's the thing that I just don't care about at all.
No, I'm sorry. Let's back that up. Like, he's definitely a piece of shit for that, but, like,
well, he's a piece of shit for that too. But, like, I just don't care about.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know, as far as politics are concerned, that has nothing to do with anything.
But that was fuel for everyone back then. Everyone who was conservative minded, of just like, well, look at this guy. He's an adulterer and he's lying. And
I mean,
you know,
all of that was the worst political theater. Like, fuck Ken Starr, dude.
Right.
Like, he just ruined Monica's life for no fucking reason. Like,
oh yeah, that poor woman, dude. That poor fucking woman.
And, like, fucking kudos to her. Like, she fucking didn't take it lying down. She turned it around and, like, is doing great.
Yeah, she is doing great. But holy shit, man. Anywho, so there's a lot of that, dude, of just, like, me coming home, just rattling off dad's talking points about politics, and my poor mom just being like, fuck's sake, dude, this kid doesn't understand what he's saying. He's just rattling off shit that his dad said because he's just repeating what his dad said because he still loves his fucking idiot, dumbass, fucking born-again psychopath dad, dude. But here we are, so we're gonna do our best. And so that's sort of my whole, like, 8, 9, 10 into, like, junior high.
Thanks. I was gonna ask, like, how old are you? Like,
yeah, so, like, probably well into, like, 12, 13. And then this is where, like, things really start fucking clicking for me. And so, yeah, and so that's sort of my whole, like, 8, 9, 10 into, like, junior high.
Thanks. I was gonna ask, like, how old are you? Like,
yeah, so, like, probably well into, like, 12, 13. And then this is where, like, things really start fucking clicking for me. As I'm becoming, like, a teenager and, like, and going through junior high, it's just, like, man, and I'm becoming, like, really much more self-aware, and also realizing, you know, and this is the age too, this is the age of rebellion, this is the age of fucking clapbacks, angst, and fucking everything, right? Like,
you're thinking for yourself, you disagree with your parents,
and like, so it's all, like, really starting to fucking come together of, like, my dad's being a fucking psychopath, man.
Oh, no kidding.
And this religious shit is not okay, you know, and my mom's, like, full-blown atheist, and so she's very much, like, very cool, and so, like, even though I'm like doing this shit with my dad, I would come back and then when she would like be deprogramming me and stuff, you know, I was very much leaning into that too of like, yeah, like what else is out there, because fucking Jesus Church is not for me, man. Like I hate this, dude.
Oh man.
And you know, and my dad, he did try and like make some efforts too, because I started getting into like around 8, 9, 10 I started getting into like hair metal and stuff.
Okay.
And I remember showing my dad some Guns N' Roses, and I remember being like really weird about it, and I was like, hey Dad, I got into this band called Guns N' Roses, and I showed him this song that has like shit tons of swearing, and I was like, how okay are you with this? And he was like, not very, but like, you know what, like, I don't know, he was still like, in spite of everything, he was still like trying to do his best and just be like, well, look, you know. But he also, I remember he, because I did show him that, and so he was like, well, if you're into like heavy metal, so there was heavy metal Christian bands.
Oh no,
back in the early 90s.
Well, and there still are,
and they're still, and they're even crazier now, probably.
But like yeah. This is the weird thing about fucking Christian music is like, Christian metal really took off in the 90s. Like,
yeah,
it was weird.
And it was a big effort for these parents who were like, all the music is devil music, but if my kid's gonna want to listen to fucking heavy guitars and screaming and fucking this and that,
yep,
let's find them the version that works for them. And so my dad bought me like a gift card to the Bible Superstore, which I don't know, for the listeners out there, like there must be Bible Superstores everywhere, but this was like Bible Superstore TM. There was like a fucking store called Bible Superstore.
I thought that this was like a jokey term, like my dad got me a gift certificate to the Bible Superstore, like the Shalom Shop or some shit.
No, it was called Bible Superstore.
Oh my fucking
And it literally
God.
was like a 2-floor fucking Bible Superstore. It was just like a billion fucking books, you know, and little fucking kitschy things, and then they had a whole music section upstairs that was just tons of music, and then they had a little tiny rack of metal. And he was like, here's 30...
Here's these 5 bands.
Amazingly, it was actually probably like 20 or 30
Okay,
bands.
well, yeah.
And it was back in the days of CD stores, too, where you could go grab a CD, and they'd crack it open and let you, like, listen to it.
Oh,
so
wow.
he was like, here's $30, go buy 3 CDs from the fucking metal section, and check it out. And so I got into... I bought CDs from some bands. I was like, all right, fine. Like, I'll try it out. And so I bought some CDs. But the funny thing is like, I liked... When I say I liked metal, I mean I liked the hair metal, which by today's standards is just pop, dude.
Exactly.
Like, Poison is just pop. Right? It's not hard, dude. Motley Crue's just pop, dude.
Exactly.
These bands were actually like sounded like Pantera and shit, dude.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They would be scromming about God and shit, you know?
Yeah.
Like, Jesus, you know?
They were, yeah, totally. And so I bought a CD from this band called Tourniquet. I bought, yeah, dude, Christian metal band Tourniquet.
They're gonna staunch the bleeding,
dude. Yeah, man. Stigmata will not kill you. Yeah, fucking. I have no idea. But yeah, and I bought these CDs, and they sucked.
Of course.
He also did take. So one of the very
well, here's the joke: is like a lot of fucking metal bands who couldn't make it back then just fucking started writing Christian lyrics so that people would start buying their albums.
You almost said farted. Just started farting.
Started farting Christian lyrics,
which is basically what they fucking did, man. Let's just fart this out, dude. Call it Christian fucking. Yeah, man.
I mean, this is way before Creed and all the other like fake alternative bands who were actually just Christian bands were actually a thing. Like, this is back when there was just like bad Christian metal and that was about it.
Well, and this was the funny thing too. Right, yeah. Oh, yeah, totally. No, this was well before even like the Christian pop was like a thing, like DC Talk or Jars of Clay and shit. Like those bands got popular a little bit after this. So there were and it was a little bit of an underground thing. And these rock churches, I mean, the Vineyard wasn't the only rock church it was the only rock church in my town, but it wasn't the only rock church in the game. There were these churches cropping up in all these like liberal college cities all across the country, right? So some of these bands, and my dad fucking I mean, shout out to my dad once again. One of the first shows I ever went to was an underground Christian metal show. And I'm not even fucking kidding, man. It was underground. He must have found out through the fucking Vineyard Rock Church people, hey, my kid's into fucking metal, man. Like, what's going on? Because he was friends with like some of the hipper, younger musicians around the rock church and stuff. And they were like, oh yeah, there's this underground show. And it was not in a venue. It was in this like, man, for Fort Collins people, it was out on Timberline and Harmony back when there was nothing there. It was just warehouse space. And it was a metal show in a warehouse. And my dad took me. I was probably like 13. It was the first time I ever moshed. It was the first time I ever fucking heard insanely loud music. But it was all Christian metal bands.
Dude, I don't know, man. Like, if you get to mosh and it's loud as hell...
I mean, it was tight, dude, and everyone was dressed up all metal, gothy. Like, yeah, everyone was dressed up all gothy. I mean, they were like, it was so weird. It was a Christian show, but there's like chicks running around in fishnets and with like dyed hair and fucking pierced kids and gothy kids everywhere. But it's all
so. Here's the other side of Christian metal: is that like some Christian metal kids just want a fucking excuse to fucking play devil music and have sex. With a fucking, like, church okay on it, you know?
I mean, and
this is why I got into youth group, you know what I'm saying?
That is 100% what was going on at this show.
I just wanted to subvert everything.
Yeah, man. But I remember that show, because it was so crazy, man. Because I did go mosh. I got my ass fucking rocked. The band that was playing, the headlining band was called Hoi Polloi.
Great fucking
name. Great name.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was a cool show. Oh man, I'm gonna rewind this one sec too. When my dad first started getting into Bible thumping, this is also one of the catalyst things. I totally missed this one. I gotta rewind this for just a second. He took me to go see one of the ex-drummers of AC/DC. Now they've had like 3 or 4 over the years.
I was gonna say, like, the drummer has never really been a spotlight position in AC/DC.
No, nor many bands.
Fair. Yeah. That's fair. Like, I feel like it's only like kind of alt bands that have like prominent drummers.
Drummers are pretty replaceable. So he took me to go see one of the ex-drummers, and again, maybe the second or third one, I don't remember who. He was doing this church tour where he was basically doing churchy TED Talks, rolling around, talking about his reformation from playing in a metal band to becoming like a born-again Christian. No. And that was one of the catalysts for my dad. This was like well before the record breaking, well before like, I think well before he met his girlfriend at the time.
So he heard some fucking third string drummer from AC/DC talk about God and he was like, that's it, I'm done.
Well, we both went and it was ridiculous. Yeah, and I think it really impacted him. I sort of laughed at the whole thing because the dude's like, because it was one of those things, too. It was kind of like Dare, how they sort of get it wrong. Because he's up there on this stage and was just like, yeah, man, you know, I'm just like drinking every night. I'm waking up in bed with 3 different women that I don't know. And just like, and then I realized I need to turn my life around. And, you know, and like... And even as like a little kid, I'm sitting there thinking like, wait a second, man, isn't this the dream? Isn't this like what you fucking strive for?
Yeah.
Like, dude, you know? Like, and it's like, oh man. Like in Dare, there's just like, you know what? You might even see your pizza come alive and start talking to you. You might see cartoon characters. And I'm like, huh. Where do I sign up, friend?
Oh, tell me about it. Like, there was some Blue Star fucking fake tattoos that were supposedly full of LSD.
Right. The fake tattoos.
Yep, and they're like, oh, you might see fucking cartoon characters. And I was like, I want to eat like 5 of these things.
Wait, like, you're telling me I can take a drug and be out of sorts and then just hang out with Bugs Bunny?
Yeah.
Like, I'll do that. I'll do that right now. Like, right now.
I don't like if you were trying to market LSD to kids, you couldn't do a much better job.
Couldn't have done a better job. I mean, Dare shoved me into doing drugs.
Tell me about it.
Yeah.
That's like literally everyone else that I did drugs with back in the day was like, yeah, I knew Dare was full of shit and I knew I had to fucking try this.
Yeah. Yeah. Dare encouraged me to do drugs more than anyone else could have.
And this is measurable. They've done studies.
Yes. Dare got canceled, like they realized that program wasn't really effective.
Hello.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So anyway. So I did go to so my dad took me to a metal show. He did a lot of good things in an effort to sort of bridge the gap with me. And and shout out to him for that. It doesn't fix the fact that he still was just so deep into his shit that he would just say these things that were just so deeply offensive, and then also pitting me against my mom.
Well, this is
pitting me against just the stuff in the world too, man.
You can believe whatever the fuck you want until you're abusing your child,
right?
And that's literally what that is.
And divorced parents will pit their kid against each other, and that's just par for the course.
Like,
and it is
fucking
it fucking is. It is. And when you're gonna use really extreme methods like religion to do it, that is super fucked up. Well, so I caught on to that.
And like I really want to emphasize that when you say your mom deprogrammed you every week when you came back, that's not fucking playing it up. Like, your mom literally had to fucking talk you into not believing shit that was crazy.
No, and I looked back on it too, and I can remember those times a lot more, obviously. And I remember it because I would especially the political stuff, because I would remember coming home and I like to fucking get Susan's goat. So my mom's partner at the time, Susan, who, again, I've talked about before. I'd never liked her. We did not get along.
If she wasn't a piece of shit, we wouldn't talk so much shit about her.
But I really, really liked to antagonize her, and so I would definitely come home with like political talking points from my dad and be like, so did you hear this shit about Clinton? And it would get her fucking goat so hard, dude. And so, like, that was a little bit of it too, where I was just like, I know I can take my dad's political shit and fucking dig into Susan a little bit, and then like get the whole family fucking worked up over it,
That's even more twisted, is like using fucking political shit as ammunition to get your kid to sabotage your fucking ex-wife's new.
Well, he couldn't have ever predicted that. He didn't. He couldn't have predicted.
Okay, you're right.
He couldn't have predicted my dislike for Susan.
You're right.
He probably did figure it out at a certain point, because I would certainly come to him and bitch about Susan. I'm just like, well, Susan's the worst, and da-da-da. And then he would be like, well, fucking, you hear this shit about Clinton? Just man. Like, yeah, I don't know, man. So it was a whole thing, dude. Anyway, we got to move into the final stage of this. So junior high wasn't great, and I will say this, I'll cap this off, because we did have a big throwdown where I was like, I think I was probably like 12 or 13, and I was like, I am not going to church, man. I'm an atheist, man. Like, I'm not fucking, I didn't have the word atheist, but I was just like, I'm not going, dude. I don't want to go and fucking subscribe to your shit every weekend. I love you. I want to spend time with you, but I'm not going to do this thing.
Well, it's like you have to lie, right?
Yeah.
In order to do it with him. Because people are asking you if you believe stuff, right?
Right. Well, and that was the other thing too. Yeah, it's like, I'm going to this thing and I hate it, man. And then people are talking to me about it. I'm like, I don't even want to be here. Right. I don't even want to be here. Like, they're forcing me to be here.
And going through the motions feels fake as hell, like.
And so we had multiple weekends that were just throwdown fights where it was like, well, time to go to church. And I was like, I don't want to go. And he'd be like, well, you have to. And I was like, I don't though. And he'd be like, yeah, you do. And then it would be this huge argument, and it would finally end up with like me crying and getting like dragged into the car and like forced to go to church or something.
Jesus.
And then finally there was like one day where I was like, no, like, I'm not going. You leave me here. I will be fine for the 2 hours while you're gone. Like, I'm just not going to do it. You're going to have to physically fucking drag me. And he got physical with me and tried to physically drag me.
No way, dude.
Like, tried to grab me, but I'm 13 and my dad's not a big guy. And so I fucking swatted him. Like, I fucking clapped him across the head, dude. And then he fucking sort of, like, got the wild look in his eye and was like, oh, we're doing this? And I was like, yeah, man, I'm big enough. I can fight you, dude. You want to fight? You want to fucking fight, man? And he fucking leapt across the bed at me and I clapped him again, dude.
Holy shit,
hard.
Dude.
And I knocked him to the fucking ground, dude. And and he was like, oh, I can't physically overpower this kid. Okay. Fucking, you're locked in this room until we get back from church. And I was like, fine, I'm not going to church.
Holy shit.
And so that was the last time I never had to go to church. That was the first time I never had to go to church. The last time I never went to church.
Wow.
Yep. Because, yeah. And again, he was never a physically abusive guy. I don't want to put that out there. He wasn't.
Sure.
He spanked me a couple times when I was younger. One, if not both of those times, I feel like I deserved it. Not here to talk about the merits of spanking.
Absolutely.
This particular time, he got, like, weirdly aggressive with me.
Well, and he actually came at you.
Like, he did.
That's fucked up.
He did. And I fucking clapped him, dude. And, yeah. And that was kind of also the moment. That was a huge turning point for me, too, where I was like, I am not just beholden to the power of the adults around me anymore. Like, I'm big enough, I'm strong enough.
Yeah.
I can fucking clap back, dude.
You're going to have to give me some real reasons
yeah.
why I need to do something.
Yeah, man.
Because, like, dragging me is no longer an option.
Yeah, you can't just emotionally abuse me into crying until I finally, like, crawl into the car and then suffer through a church service. Like, I'm not doing it anymore, man. You've taken away everything from me. You've taken away my music. You've taken away my video games. You've taken away my comic books. You've done every fucking thing to, like, tell me how I'm wrong, how my mom is fucking evil, and, like, I'm not subscribing to this anymore. I'm still your kid. I still love you as my dad. We can have kid-dad fucking hangouts, and I look forward to those, but I'm not doing all this other bullshit, dude.
Fucking
so,
dude.
Anyway, so that was kind of the beginning of the end for us in many ways, and well, actually, I think right before this, well, right in and around this, I don't remember the timelines exactly.
Sure.
He had a kid. Well, he got married also to this woman, Pat. He got married, and then they had a kid. And so now I had a stepbrother and a half-brother.
Sure.
And was just super put out on it. And, and fuck me also, because this is an only child syndrome thing. I went from only child for, 10 years to all of a sudden stepbrother to then all of a sudden half-brother. And it's like, oh shit, now I have all these fucking siblings. Like, I didn't ask for this. Like, fuck this, man. Like, I didn't want this, man. And, like, I think that's probably a natural thing for, like, kids who have siblings, right?
I mean, dude, not to go into my own shit too much, but, like, I literally remember pushing my sister down a flight of stairs when she was still crawling. So,
Christ.
And I remember thinking that I didn't want her in my life anymore. So,
Mm-hmm. Dude, and that's wild. We'll have to get to that. We'll unpack that later.
I mean, maybe it wasn't that dramatic, but I mean, like, fuck, I remember putting my foot on her forehead and shoving her down the stairs, dude. Like,
oh yeah, and
knowing what it meant.
Oh yeah, no, and I beat up on my half brother for the few years that we like existed together because he was kind of a terror once he turned like 3 or whatever. But
it's that's a survival instinct, like
yeah,
if you're stronger than your fucking siblings
for real,
and you can kill them. Then they weren't strong enough to survive. Like that's just nature at work.
Tribal fucking yeah, man. Oh man. So yeah, I sort of did gloss over my dad getting married and having another kid because that was just sort of all incidental to everything because it was kind of just the natural progression of everything. Like, yeah, he started dating this woman, started thumping the Bible. Next thing you know, he's married, has a kid. It was all sort of like whatever to me. I was like, okay, like obviously this is what happens. And like also, you know, I loved my dad. I wanted him to find his happiness. Yeah. Like, okay, you met a new person. I get it. Now I have a stepmom. Now I have a stepbrother. Now I have a half brother. Don't love any of it, dude, but whatever. So we ended up not being super close for a couple years because of all of this contentious religious shit.
I mean, you guys literally physically fought over going to church. I can understand why you wouldn't be super close.
Yep. And so I started requesting, like, not going over on the weekends. And so then like, visitation became sort of optional. It was like, I'll go over there when it's convenient for me, but like, I'm not just gonna go over there because he has the rights for this weekend. And also, he's sort of, you know, built this new life.
Well, also, I was going to say, like, if you had the option, that means he didn't care. Like,
yeah, and he sort of was just, like, leaning into this, like, new wife, new life, new kid fucking thing, man.
Sounds like he was kind of trying to start his new family, and, like, if you weren't into it, then, like, fuck you, you know?
Yeah, totally. And that was definitely kind of the move. So, high school happens, and I've told the story before about how I got... how my mom busted me with mushrooms. I was selling mushrooms in high school. Not a great move, but whatever.
Hey, great move, as long as you don't get caught.
Yeah, well, mom caught me. Luckily, not the cops, but
exactly.
Mom caught me. Yeah, we're just referencing all the time. Go back through the annals of this podcast.
This is the fucking... the fucking tree of fucking episodes right here. This is the trunk for all of them.
Because I told this whole episode too about getting busted with mushrooms, and my mom had like an intervention for me, and it was this huge fucking gnarly thing. I ran away from home for a minute, and when that all culminated at the end, I no longer wanted to live with my mom. I didn't want to live with my dad, but my mom was fucking cracking the whip on the drug shit and being super worried about it, and I was like, well, maybe dad'll fucking cut me some slack.
Oh, God.
And he had sort of mellowed out at this point. He had actually started rebuying CDs. Like, he had bought a Pink Floyd CD again. So he was starting...
Shut your mouth!
He was starting to relax a little bit. Because I think
that almost disappoints me more than anything else in this fucking story.
Right? And it is, like, super disappointing. And it just, like... And the whole time, I'm just like, you're...
Like, a child abuse aside, like, this music lover destroyed his fucking precious vinyls and then he's buying CDs? What a piece of shit.
Well, and in some ways, I'm just like, you fucking hypocrite.
Exactly.
Stick to your guns, motherfucker.
Dude, fuck you.
Yeah, man.
You had a whole fucking 6-hour ritual where you smash shit with a sledgehammer and then you're going to buy a fucking CD of it? Like...
Yep.
What a piece of shit.
And so...
I'm sorry, I don't know why that gets my goat more than
it got my goat too, man. It was frustrating because I was just like, what even do you believe in, man?
Seriously.
You're just a big fucking coward piece of shit, man, is what you are.
You're going to come up with some new shit next weekend and I'm going to have to fucking kill my pets. Like, fuck you, dude.
Yeah, dude. Yes. And it did feel like that. I was like, well... This dude doesn't even have convictions.
Right?
Even if his convictions are fucking wrong and shitty.
Like
he doesn't even... It's like he doesn't even have them now. Like, way to fucking destroy a record collection in vain, dude. Like, you know, just like... Anyway.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't mean to harp too hard
on
that.
And you're fucking right, dude. You're fucking right. And this is what, like, absolutely... drove me to the wit's end with him is so I did go and live with him for a bit. He lived a bit out of town in this town called Wellington, so it was like these long hauls to get to school. Also, there's no neighbors around. There's nothing to do out there except my shitty little brother. And then I think even my stepbrother had moved back in with his dad at this point because I don't think he lived with us at this point.
Oh, fuck. Not even Joe's there? Like...
Yeah, but like... And
not that you guys were super tight or anything.
We weren't
but like,
super
at least you guys
tight.
were the same age.
We did hang out a little bit, and I was obviously like getting into drugs, and I was trying to get him into drugs a little bit. And he would come out and like we did get him high and shit, and he like couldn't handle it at all. Because again, he was just like an anxiety-ridden kid, dude. He wasn't cut out for this shit at all. But yeah, and oh my god, there's so much other stuff to tell about like him, and God, there's so much other stuff there. I'm gonna focus on fucking Dad. So and so I lived with him for a bit, but just obviously Winnie break. So
Jesus Christ.
I don't know. I'm either leaving it in or I'm not. Okay.
Go back outside.
It's in.
I swear to God, dude, this motherfucking cat.
This cat, yeah. She loves to interrupt this podcast, that's for sure.
She's the king of podcast interruptions. Queen,
yeah,
sorry.
We'll just hang outside till you're done.
No, that's all right. That's all right. Yeah, we are almost done. So, things didn't obviously work out very well living with my dad while I was trying to go to high school. We just were at ends with each other constantly. You know, right. Political, spiritual, fucking social, every single thing. Like, we just could not get along. And the worst part was my stepmom, Pat, who, you know, and remember back when I said, like, when my dad first met her, she drank.
Yeah.
She
was in Arnold Schwarzenegger movies.
into R-rated movies, into fucking kung fu, into, like, fucking little toy gunfighting and shit. At this point, she is literally now dressing like an Amish woman.
What?
She just became this weird, pious, buttoned-up woman who wore, like, full fucking to-the-neck, like, smocks and started, like, canning food and sewing all the time. And she just became, like, this really fucking, like, pious, buttoned-up woman who would get extra offended if you, like, swore or anything, right?
So she went fucking full Handmaid's Tale with no fucking prompts? Like,
with no prompts. Yeah, with no commanders involved. Yeah.
That is wild as hell.
Yeah, dude. It is wild. And so we were butting heads a lot too, because I'm a fucking high school teenager, man, and I'm just like rambunctious and angsty and fucking saying shit, man. And so
dude,
and she would get so pearl clutchy around me and just be like, "Oh, I can't believe you would say that right now," and then like call my dad and be like, "Will you just talk to him, because I just can't believe you would say this." And just like she was like fucking Wendy from fucking Shining, dude. Just like I can't right now, you know, and would just fucking, and it was like, you were a strong kung fu woman 10 years ago. I don't know what the fuck. Also, my dad didn't like abuse her into this. God abused her into this, dude. Like, this was not my dad's doing. She was just like, I'm gonna just full God fucking, yeah, man.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, I feel like we're kind of throwing some shade at Fred by, like, saying that she was Handmaid's Tale at this point, because, like, damn, that's just fucking pure fucking personal delusions. Like,
yeah, and she went just as hard as my dad. Here's the thing that happened. There was one day that my dad, it was after church when I still had to go to church, and my dad took me out to the parking lot, and he was like, this is so fucking weird. He took me out of the parking lot with me, him, my stepmom, and my stepbrother, and he was like, "Hey, we had a conversation with God recently, and we've decided to buy a new family car." Because they were driving around this like beat up Subaru fucking station wagon that was like failing all the
time. Like early 90s kind of like, yeah, okay.
But they like got us together for this communal moment to be like, God told us that we're allowed to buy a new car. So we're going to get rid of this car and we're going to buy a new car.
What kind of creepy shit is that, dude?
Yeah, and we were just like, okay, man, that's just like natural progression. Like, that's just what you gotta do, right?
Guess what? God doesn't care what fucking car you drive,
but
you
I think,
fucking weirdos.
But I think what it was is that they were so poor they couldn't justify fucking buying a new car, so they were like, God told us we can justify taking out a loan.
Okay, man, like, I don't know, like, how well you were aware of your family's finances when you were a kid, but
they were poor.
Well, shit, man. Like, I lived in a fucking double wide, and I didn't know that we were poor. Like,
yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like, unless you fucking make it a big deal, then your kids don't. Fuck, I don't know,
dude. It was weird, man. It was weird. That was another one of those catalyst moments where I was like, I don't like this. This feels fucking weird.
Like, I don't even care if you are poor. Like, don't involve your kids in that shit. Like, there's nothing that they can do about it. And furthermore, what kind of input could you possibly have? Like, well, I don't know. I like this piece of shit that you were driving, so maybe not buy a new car?
Well, yeah, literally. I'm just like, cool. Buy a new car. Do or don't. I don't know. I don't need God's input, and I don't need your reflection on God's input.
Do you need my input on God's input? Because I'm pretty sure God's in charge. Like,
no, and I remember just being like, for the listener at home, I'm gripping my face like a Macaulay Culkin fucking hands on cheeks, just like, what the fuck is going on, dude?
Can confirm.
So, when everything sort of broke down, when I was living with him, I'm in high school, shit is just absolutely not working. And so I have this opportunity to move into this house with my friends. I'm 16. But I've got this opportunity to live with Brett and this other dude, Mikey. And reference another old episode called The Shitwater Incident. This is the house I moved into. We called it Sane because when you were there, you were insane because we were dumb. And so... man,
the name sticks.
Hey, it works, yeah. I mean, we still call it Sane to this day when we fucking reminisce about it. So I had the opportunity to do that. And I basically sat my parents down and said, I want to be emancipated. I can't live with either of you. I'm 16, but I need to be put on my own. And they were like, at first they were sort of not for it. And I was like, well, I'm going to fight this to every single end. Like, I will go get my own lawyer and fight this. And they were like, okay, dude, like, kid's serious. So they sat down with me and we talked it all out. We didn't actually do an official emancipation because it's like a ton of fucking work,
and it's also like bad for everyone.
It is bad for everyone. And so they were like, okay, kid, move into your own place, man. Fucking do it, dude.
Yep.
Here's the deal: if we're not going to do an official emancipation, just fucking don't get into trouble because we're responsible for you. So would you just do your best? You've got a year and a half before you're 18. Just do your absolute best to not get into trouble. And then everything's fine and you can just live your life. And I was like, cool. Deal. Yeah. Done. I'm fucking moving out now.
And that's the most like fucking chill, egalitarian, sane thing they possibly could have done at that time, you know?
Yep.
It's also a bit of a roll of the dice, but...
Bit of a roll of the dice, for sure, man. And I think they were walking on eggshells for that year and a half, just being like, please don't let this kid fuck up! And I nearly did, is the fucking shitty thing, you know?
Of course you fucking did. You were fucking 16 and a half or whatever.
I was 16 and a half fucking selling mushrooms before I was 18. God. I was fucking dragging pounds of mushrooms down to fucking Grand Junction and selling them.
How else are you going to make rent, am I right?
How else am I going to make rent is the thing. So...
Allegedly.
I don't even know what Grand Junction... Where is Grand Junction?
What are mushrooms?
Yeah. Yeah. So... the last thing that happened, so all of that happens. I lived there. I really don't keep in touch with my dad at this point because I'm just sort of over his shit. I also don't really keep in touch with my mom that much because we're at ends with each other.
In this, on this part of your timeline.
In this part of the timeline. So 16 and a half to 18 or so. I turn 18, huge weights lifted from everyone's shoulders.
Sure.
Also, this thing happens where... so I suddenly get into a good place. I start dating this woman named Marsha. She fucking rules. I kind of turned my life around for her a little bit because, like, she's really cool. And, like, I'm like, yeah, maybe what if I wasn't just a fucking scumbag all the time?
Solid concept.
Yeah. And actually, if you reference 2 episodes back, this was the era that I was working at the stroker-friendly gasomat.
Ah, yes.
Yeah. And so things are actually going pretty well for me. My mom has started a business on her own. She's been quite successful in it. And then, you know, and I see my dad every now and again. I go out there and I see him, but it usually ends in fucking a throwdown of just like, hey man, let's stop talking about the Bible, dude. Like, if we could just stop talking about the Bible, and then he can't, and then I'm just like, all right, well, I'm leaving. So that's just sort of where we're at. And this is kind of the last straw. Well, this is the last straw. So my mom was running this print shop, and, you know, back in the day, it was like you would get conscripted for an order of just an absolute shit ton of work, which she did, and then she outsourced it to another company, which she also did. Like, so she did large format stuff, but any small format stuff, she would do the design work, outsource it to another company of which people, like, she was friends with.
Sure.
And then this woman ordered like 17,000 copies of a magazine or whatever.
Oh my
mom
God.
did all the design work, got an upfront payment from her, ordered them all, printed them all. The woman came and picked them up, cut my mom a check. My mom literally, like, takes the check, hops in her car, drives to the bank, and by the time she gets to the bank, the check is canceled. It is a
son of a fuck.
It is a $17,000 check for a whole order of work that my mom is on the hook for because she outsourced it.
Oh my God.
This woman canceled the check and disappeared.
Holy fucking shit, dude.
And so my mom is basically now has to go through this process of tracking this woman down and suing her.
Yeah.
Because she's on the hook for this $17,000 order that she outsourced, which she basically had to pay to them out of her own pocket.
I mean, unless she wants to go fucking bankrupt, yeah.
Right. And so she did that, so she paid that company, so she's paid off. But then now she's 17 in the hole on trying to collect on this person. And so she's hiring lawyers. She knows the woman's name. She has all the information on her, but she lives in Wyoming, so it's like hard to track her down. It's this whole ass thing, right? And as she's doing this, as she's working through all of this, which is basically a thing that's effectively going to ruin her business.
Well, I was going to say $17,000. I don't know that you can, like, actually get any reasonable part of that back with the amount of money that you would have to pay in lawyers' fees and etc. Like,
yeah. And luckily she did actually bounce back from this all and managed to run that business for another, I want to say, like 6-7 years before finally just closing the doors.
Did she ever get any money from that woman?
Not a fucking dime.
I'm not surprised.
And this is the thing, right? So when someone does something like that to you, you hire lawyers, and then at a certain point, there's a point of no return, right? Like, your lawyer fees start becoming way more worth than whatever you could possibly get out of this person.
Exactly.
And once it became clear that this person has no assets, then, like, I mean, the lawsuit still went through, and I want to say this woman still got fucked in some way.
Sure.
But she has no assets and has no money, so it doesn't matter. Even if this woman goes to jail for the rest of her life, that doesn't pay my mom off.
She's not going to go to jail for the rest of her life for white-collar crime.
But even if she did, is what I'm saying. Like, even if she did, even if she got the harshest punishment thrown at her,
your mom's not going to get any money. Well, and this is ultimately one of the things that fucking kills me about the justice system is it's like, cool, these people who ruin other people's lives go to jail. But there's zero fucking victim restitution. Like,
right, totally. Yeah.
And I mean, like, it's not the case in like, you know, other crimes, but white collar crimes, like, you can just steal people's money.
You can. And this is why, like, companies don't do this sort of shit anymore, is where it's like, oh no, man, like, everything up front, dude, because exactly. I can't just risk you walking out on this bill.
There's absolutely no way, unless you're like an established customer with a fucking like charge account.
Well, and that's the thing is, I think this woman had been an established customer and just for whatever reason decided to fucking bounce. I don't know. This is actually a whole nother story that like I'd rather get my mom to tell. I actually don't know.
I'm not trying to throw any shade at your mom. Like, I'm sure that she had all of her bases covered and just got fucked, but like... Whew, that sucks.
But, so as my mom's dealing with this, my dad decides to sue my mom for arrears. So...
What? Even when he was missing fucking child support payments?
And so this is the thing, right? So my dad had missed child support payments like throughout my entire childhood.
Fucking A.
Up to and including when he remarried, took on a stepkid, took on a fucking another kid.
Yeah,
he's still missing child support payments to my mom, right?
Yeah.
And so he had this backlog of payments, you know, some multiple thousands of dollars. So I had turned 18. This whole thing went down with my mom. My dad decides to fucking get his own lawyer and sue my mom for arrears.
What basically could he possibly think that she owed him?
So his argument was, since I moved out when I was 16 and no longer lived at home, that he did not owe child support for those years.
For the year and a half that you weren't in her house?
Effectively, yeah.
And that he can take her to court over that?
Yeah, which adds up to like, I don't know, it was like a handful of thousands of dollars or whatever.
Yeah,
like,
which is in no way commensurate to the shit that he didn't pay her, I'm sure. Like,
right. And then he also wanted to like basically like backlog that a little further and say like, oh, well, because of like the tumultuous household and this, that, and the other, right?
Well, did he even think of how that would possibly cast him into legal jeopardy? Like, telling the court that he let you move out when you were less than 18 and you weren't emancipated?
Well, so this is the thing, right? And so my mom gets a hold of me and was like, yeah, so your dad's doing this right now. He's suing me because he wants to get these arrears back. And, like, this is fucked.
Yeah.
And I was immediately like, yes, this is incredibly fucked.
It's insane.
Well, and that's the thing, too, because she was like, yeah, and basically what's going to happen is he's going to kind of throw all of us under the bus just to get, like, a few $1,000s knocked off his, like, owed child support.
Can't even be that fucking much, man.
Yeah, and she was like, so here's the thing. We need to go to court. Will you testify on my behalf and say that, like, I was giving you money while you were living outside of the house, which she was.
Sure.
And that, like, all those child support payments were still going towards things that I needed, like clothes and fucking XYZ. And I was like, yeah, of course, because you did kick me money that entire time. Like, anytime I asked for, like, $100 or whatever, like, you always had it. So it was like, yeah, dude. Fucking of course we're going to do that. And then by the time the court date came around, like, I was ready to go testify against my dad in court because of this whole bullshit. My mom hit me up and was like, you know what? I'm actually just going to, like, I'm just going to settle out. Basically, the way it's going to work is, like, I actually don't even totally remember. She was like, I'm going to settle out. I don't owe him anything. He doesn't owe me anything. We're just going to call it fucking split because I'm dealing with this fucking woman who stole $17,000 from me and I just can't do this court thing on top of everything right now. So, like, I'm just going to call it square and, like, the lawyers found a fucking negotiation that works for everyone and you don't need to come testify. And I was like, man, fuck, though. Like, I'm fucking mad. I am mad. And that was the day. Like, the day she called me and told me that I don't need to go testify against my dad and that, like, everything's settled out and he doesn't owe anything anymore. I was like, no. I don't accept that. And so...
Fuck yeah.
And so I fucking drove out to his place. And, like, we hadn't really been in contact, but I called him and I was like, I'm coming out there right now. I want the few things I have left there. I want my camera. I have a few vinyl records there. I have a few pieces of clothing there. I want those prepped and ready to go when I get there, because this will be the last time we ever speak.
Fuck yeah, dude.
And I went out there, and he did not have my vinyl records, but he did have my camera. And so I walked in, and I grabbed my camera, and he said, "Can we talk about this?" And I said, "I don't think there's much to talk about, man. I think you understand why I'm here and why this is happening right now." And he was like, "Well, look, I was just trying to, like, do the best for my family." And I was like, "No,
nope,
you're not."
Because
I'm your family.
Yeah.
And you've done nothing but shit to me for years. You've fucking shoved the Bible down my throat for years. And you're fucking over my mom. It was like, I know you're divorced. I know you're fucking not friends, but, like, you don't have to do this, man.
Well, and she fucking, like, did so much to, like, you know, not fuck him over.
She would only stick her neck out for him through all the years of him being a fuck up, dude.
And so to have that as the fucking bookend on the end is like, hey, thanks for being cool. By the way, fuck you, I'm gonna sue you. Like, yeah. Fuck that, dude.
Yep. And so I really didn't talk to him for that long. I was like, hey man, like, you're a piece of shit. And, like, I don't understand why you're doing this. And I feel like you're just being, like, weirdly aggressive in a time when, like, my mom is vulnerable. And, like, you can go fuck yourself.
Exactly.
And I grabbed my camera and I slammed the fucking sliding glass door and I walked out. And that was the last time I've ever seen my dad face to face, dude.
Fuck yeah. Fuck that guy.
Yeah. And I have talked to him on the phone twice since then as an epilogue to this. And both times I've given him the opportunity to for him to get closure, because to me, I got closure that day. I was like,
hell yeah, you did.
I'm fucking done, man.
Yep.
Like, everything you've done, like, the abusive shit, the religious, emotional, abusive shit you've done to me for the last fucking 8-9 years, man, like, I am fucking done with your ass. And to now do this in this moment, when you know that this person is suffering and going through something, like, fuck, I can't abide it. So I'm done. Blood is not thicker than water. It fucking isn't.
Damn straight.
And for those of you out there who think, for those of you out there who are struggling with family members, blood is not thicker than water. That's a fucking dumbass adage. Dude. Like, cut out the toxic people in your life. Just do it. You'll be better for it.
There's more family in the world than the ones that you're fucking born with.
Fucking Christ balls. Yes, dude. As evidenced right here, right now, man.
Amen, brother.
Like, the people I'm closest with are not blood related, and I trust them more than my fucking dad. And yeah, so I've given him opportunity to get closure on his end, and he can't figure it out. We've had 2 phone conversations, and every time I tell him, hey man, here's your opportunity. Any questions you have for me, I'll answer them. You know why I don't talk to you, because I've told you.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you again right here, right now. And then he sort of hems and haws and asks me how I'm doing, and I'm like, hey man, this isn't the conversation I'm looking to have. So if you don't have real questions for me, I'm not here to catch up, dude.
Yeah, no kidding.
And so then both times I've just hung up on him. I'm like, well, I'm going to let you go, man. Like, we're done.
Yeah, if you don't want to be real, then you can fuck off. You know?
And I'm giving you the opportunity. I will give you that to figure out where you went wrong, or where we went wrong. Sure, exactly. Whatever. To figure out where things went wrong. I'll give you that opportunity if you need to understand that in your life to help you fucking move. Fucking, I'll give that to you. I understand where we went wrong. I fucking closed that door. I slammed that fucking door.
It's pretty crystal fucking clear.
Yeah, man. You went from a person who was very cool to telling me my mother's going to hell for... And it's not a lifestyle choice. That's what they like to frame it as back then, you know?
Telling you that your mom's going to hell for who she is.
For who she is.
And then trying to sue your mom for emancipating you? Like...
Yep.
That's just total piece of shit territory.
It is. And, you know, and so... Fuck my dad, man. Like, he sucks. And he was super cool in the beginning and just... fucking fell off completely, dude. And I don't know, man.
I mean, what more can you say at this point, you know?
Yeah, I mean, not a ton. And so, yeah, I know this has been like a really long podcast, and I think I framed it pretty well, but...
Dude, yeah, no, like...
You know, and I guess at the end of it, I will wrap it all up with kind of a fucking... People are not defined by their worst actions.
Sure.
They aren't. So I'm not going to sit here and completely shit on my dad. He's...
Well, no, you haven't. This whole time. So, you've had caveats every step of the way about how, like, your dad was a good guy in these specific situations, you know?
Yeah. So everyone is a sum of multiple parts. And he... did really fucking good in the early days.
Yeah.
And by all intents and purposes, he's probably still like a good guy or whatever. He never fucking beat me up. He was never an alcoholic. He was never fucking the worst. You know, he wasn't the worst version of any of the horror stories you hear from people with with abusive parents and stuff,
I'm sure
right?
he's generally nice to the people who are in his day-to-day life.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Which is fine.
Like, dude's fine. But I like to fucking lean on this a little bit, too, of just, like, you still don't have to subject yourself to that. You don't have to fucking surround yourself with toxic people. Just because they don't hit you, just because they don't fucking... have XYZ problems, you know, common problems or whatever, doesn't mean they can't be abusive, shitty, awful people, dude.
Exactly.
And my dad was that to me, at least at the time that I stopped talking to him, and I don't think anything's changed because he's attempted to reach out to me twice and, I don't know, hasn't worked out, so...
Well, it's, you know, that fucking sucks, but
yeah,
what are you gonna do, you know?
Well, and again, I've made my peace, man. I'm good with making peace with people who have to get cut out of my life.
Yeah,
and
you have to do that after a certain point,
and that's incredibly hard. And I sort of wanted to tell this story, and I've wanted to tell this story for a long time, just to encourage folks, anyone who does listen to this. Man, you can cut those people out. You just can.
You honestly, you have to. If you want to fucking continue growing, cut the fucking toxic people out of your life. Because they're holding you back.
They are, and you can always reconvene later.
Yeah, you can always give them a second chance, but give yourself some fucking space, man. Mm-hmm. Don't keep going through the fucking revolving door over and over again because they're not going to fucking change.
Yep. And when you know someone's wronged you in such a way, when someone has pitted you against someone you love, when people have gaslighted you, manipulated you, I mean, these are all just red flaggy things, dude. When someone has done that to you, feel free to fucking walk away. Like, you're allowed. You're allowed. It doesn't matter if they're your parent or your child or your brother or your sister or any...
Or your spouse or whoever.
Or even just a very good friend from high school or whatever.
It's especially friends from high school. Fuck.
Yeah, dude. Like, you can just fucking cut that out from your life, man. Make your life better. And I'll tell you what, man, because I'll leave it on this note, dude. The day I slammed that fucking door, my life got better. My life has been better without my dad. And this is a fucking person who I fucking worship the ground he walked on. Like I said, he to me, he hung the moon at one point in my life. But time and behavior changes everything. And you are allowed to fucking acknowledge that someone has changed, become a different person, and they are toxic and abusive to you, and fucking walk away. Just
Absolutely.
walk away. It will be better for you, and it has been better for me. So that's my final piece of advice, man.
Well, I'm fucking so glad that you fucking did, man.
Yeah, man. And so, yeah. So to tie it all on a proper bow, shout out to good father figures everywhere, and shout out to my grandpa, who honestly did as much, if not more, than my dad ever did, because at least he didn't fucking be an asshole.
Hell yeah. Shout out to all you good dads.
Yeah. Shout out to all the good dads.